You know, back when I was in the academy, we would follow every toast with a song.
Oh, wow. Well, welcome to Picard Season 3, Episode number 4 review. We haven't done this in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, we took a week off, personal issues, vacations, that kind of thing. Just kind of forced us to postpone, but we are back, and Horny Alf should be joining us soon, unless he ran back to the beach, in which case,
Well, he was taking pictures from the beach, laying on there with a fucking drink in his hand, bastard.
I got feet pics of Horny Alf now.
Yeah, I know, right? He's always memeing everybody else. I might as well get him back one day. So, well, welcome to everybody. And I like how the first thing Squatch said was oof.
Yeah.
I was like, the hell does oof mean?
Yeah, and then he goes, I'll be back.
I'll be back. Oh. Yeah, no, good stuff. But this was a pretty stellar episode. A lot of stuff happens, and about a 55-minute period of episodes. So yeah,
there wasn't as much. This is kind of a running theme throughout the series. There's not a lot of action. There is a lot of talking, but in this episode in particular, I think there's some incredible character development.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that.
And for those of you who are new to our reviews and or the Picard show itself, heavy spoilers. We're going to go through the whole episode. We do this every week, and if you do not want spoilers, we are not a substitute for watching a show. Go watch the show, then come watch us.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean we physically go through it and you can visually see it. You could also hear it, but no, it's no substitution for getting the whole entire context.
Yeah.
Um
And we're gonna try real hard to keep like, short segments of actual video on the screen this time. Maybe we won't get fucking taken down.
we didn't get clipped last time at all, right? We didn't.
No, they got us about 20 minutes after the end of the stream.
That's it. They're always going to do that. We're never going to be able to get around that. Yeah, they blocked the video because it's just an automated bot response, and we always have to fight it. I mean, I literally submitted my claim right after the stream, and they reinstated it, and they released all the claims on all my videos. I don't know about you. So they don't have a single claim on any video of mine anymore.
I think mine still has all of them on them, actually.
Does it?
Yep.
Okay. I just got 2 notifications that said they released your claim. So I don't that was a couple days ago. But anyway, so let's jump into this because as I just kind of skipped over it because all it really says, it has the intro that says 5 years earlier. So I mean it's not like you really need to see the sign, but here we go.
I believe this is 5 years ago in the 10 forward bar that is on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's kind of seems to be the running watering hole of the series thus far. So hey, Cool Frog, what's up?
Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah. He was Cool Frog, made an appearance last night too on the stream, which was awesome. Screaming to the Lord, the 50th episode. That was a lot of fun.
It was a good episode.
Slightly chaotic. But definitely a lot of shenanigans.
We had a lot of people stop by too, so it was it was a good show. It was a fun time. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And the nature of that particular show is a little chaotic anyway.
Well, yeah. Friday night was pretty chaotic too. But anyway, so yes, we are back on Earth. We're at the bar.
Oh, thank you very much.
We've got Jean-Luc. Obviously, he's doing his thing. He's having his wine.
Admiral Picard.
Gets accosted by a bunch of cadets.
I've always wanted to ask you something about your...
Yes, because obviously, I mean, he's an admiral. I know we're doing probably a slight recap for some people already know, but it's been 2 weeks. So he's an admiral. He's a living legend. Obviously, him and Riker both. And this is before all the incidents that we've been going through on the Titan of the unknown ship, the Shrike. So, and the crew has just been injured, and they've been hiding in the nebula.
Yeah. Also, the number of Starfleet officials in this particular location, the bar, the cadets in particular, leads me to believe that it's not only at Starfleet headquarters or at least adjacent to, but that it's in fact adjacent to the Academy.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Which is in San Francisco, for those of you who don't know.
Oh, I didn't know that actually, to be honest. Was that something they covered in like season 1 and 2? Because as I said, I didn't watch that.
That's something they covered in the original cast movies.
Oh, it's been forever since I've seen one of those.
Yeah, no, it's Starfleet headquarters has been in San Francisco forever.
I think it's been like since the early 2000s since I've seen one of those. So
encounter with the Hirogen. Your book just talks about the diplomatic situation, but we heard the Alpha actually hunted you.
Did you ever find out how they got to the quadrant?
Did Admiral Janeway offer any advice?
I'm not really
See, this I don't remember happening. I don't remember Picard being hunted by a Hirogen. This might have been one of those things that took place between like TNG and the TNG cast movies, because the first time we were introduced to the Hirogen, TNG's been off the air for several years, and I think the very first time that we see one of them is in Voyager.
Yes, well,
because they're Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, they mentioned Admiral Janeway from Voyager. Lover or hater, she has her flaws.
Yeah. Basically, they're Star Trek's version of the Predator.
Yep.
Except they speak English.
They speak basic. I don't know. I've always called it basic because of Star Wars. They always oh, you speak galactic basic.
Right.
So
Did you ever sidetrack a little bit? Did you ever read the Alien versus Predator comic books from the late 80s, early 90s?
no, I was too young for that. I didn't really know anything about Alien or Predator when I was at that young.
Okay, I would recommend doing so for because some of the earlier stuff is actually really good. They introduced a character named Machiko Noguchi. Like, you remember that god awful Alien versus Predator movie?
Yes.
Okay, so Sana Lathan's character in that, the main chick,
Mm-hmm.
they gave most of her. They gave the main character from the comic books, a woman named Machiko Noguchi, her character arc to Sana Lathan's character, and all of that. She ends up in the end going off with the hunters into space and like joining them, kind of thing. And there's a lot of stuff that goes along with that. And she mentions during one of the series, I forget which one it is. I think it's War. That she knows damn well that they can understand her, but they're just refusing to, lower themselves to speaking her language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no, no. Like I said, and ironically, I know this is going to be slightly a bad take. I didn't mind the Alien versus Predator movie, but then again, I was very much late to the party on all that, because I was so young when they came out.
Yeah, fair enough. It was just
it was an interesting concept. It wasn't great.
it was a long time coming. So Predator 2 comes out, right? And Hardigan or Harrigan, Danny Glover's character, gets on the Predator ship, and he finds the trophy wall, and on that trophy wall is a xenomorph skull.
Mm-hmm.
That was not a setup to movies. What that was a nod to the comic books, which were very popular at that time, published by Dark Horse.
Oh yeah, and see, Dark Horse. Sorry, I don't know. I was looked like my mic spiked. Hopefully, it wasn't loud. Dark Horse, yes, I think does great comics. If you ask me,
they do some of the best IP based comics ever, or at least they did.
Yeah. Dark Horse did a comic series for Mass Effect, which I'm a huge fan of the video game franchise. Minus Andromeda. That I don't know what the fuck that was, but
I don't know why everybody's got a problem with that game. I actually enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't the same, but it was still good.
It was like the bad facial expressions, like, had a lot of bugs. Obviously when it came out, obviously I own it, and I want to go back and replay it one day, and hopefully they fixed a lot of that. But yeah, it was rough when it came out.
I don't know, maybe I was just running it on a shitty system, so I didn't notice.
What did you have it on?
On my PS4.
Oh really? Well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. They probably fixed it since then. So,
but yeah. Anyway. So sorry about the side tangent. I was just making a point about the Hirogen basically being the predator, but like, willing to stoop to speaking the common tongue.
Yeah.
Long story short.
Hey, I mean, it's a good sidetrack. I was okay with it. I mean, fuck, we go off on tangents all the time.
We'd love to hear it from the man himself, please. How'd you get away?
Well, fortunately for me, Lieutenant Commander Worf had cleverly constructed a deadfall trap. So when the Alpha advanced, the hunter had been turned into the prey.
That's how you tell a short story.
When you
Yeah.
You will need to remember that no matter how bleak or unwinnable a situation, as long as you and your crew remain steadfast in your dedication one to another, you are never, ever without hope.
It's a good line.
It is a good line. It's a very good line, and that's very reminiscent of the character that we know and we highly appreciate, which obviously all criticisms are due for season 1 and 2.
Yeah, and folks, remember this scene and that line, because it does come back around at the end of the episode.
It does, yes, and they literally pan to that, and there's a very specific reason. So we are actually fast forwarding. We are now back on the bridge of the Titan, and as we discussed, they are stuck inside the nebula, hiding from the Shrike because they have been severely disabled.
Well, at this point, they're not just disabled; like they're falling into a mysterious gravity well that
Yeah.
somehow exists inside a fucking nebula.
Yeah. And I mean they're literally powerless. They're
Mhm.
floating off into space.
Yep, they've got life support. They got a couple of systems that are bleeding energy, and that's about it.
Yeah. That's not what I wanted. Wrong button.
Still too darkly lit. I mean, I know they're without power, but the whole episode is very darkly lit.
It's a very dark episode. And this is a discussion that we had last night on Vets talking about I know this is going to be a slight tangent, just a smidgen, but it's very, very relevant, from like Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know what it is with Hollywood recently, even with like Game of Thrones in the past, even still with House of the Dragon season 1, they've got a hard on for like a lot of darkness, and it's like I think it in the case of Disney, I think they're doing it. They're making up for it in that way for bad CGI. I don't know about anybody else, but it seems like all of Hollywood is doing this whole dark thing a lot.
Right. Well, to kind of tie it back to the Alien versus Predator thing, they did the same thing in the sequel, Alien versus Predator Requiem. That whole movie is so hard to fucking see what's actually going on because it's lit so poorly.
Yeah. Like, and I can't stand movies like that. It's like it strains your eyes. Like, and it just they do. It gives you a little bit of a headache. I'm not saying that this is on par with that, but it just for some reason Hollywood has a hard on for darkness still. But I guess it doesn't negate the episode though. As you can see, they're tumbling off right here. Ow.
Our shields can't take much more of this. Pull power from other systems.
There's nothing to pull from, sir.
Engines are down. Every time I try to engage, we hemorrhage.
Engineering sustained critical damage during the attack.
Massive loss of power. We're down to 9%, and the more systems we use, the faster it depletes. We're bleeding to death.
What if we divert everything from the warp core or the impulse reactors?
Either way, we go into meltdown.
Even temporarily?
We won't have the power to reverse the process. It's a chain reaction.
What about weapons, Mura?
Already at 0, sir.
And we're falling deeper and deeper into the nebula's gravity well.
We're sinking.
All systems are reaching critical
Go ahead, dude.
This gravity well thing, like even by the time the situation resolves itself, the gravity well thing doesn't really make any sense.
No.
It just doesn't. I mean, a nebula is a gaseous cloud, and even if this is somehow something other than a nebula, it's still got no, as far as I can see anyway, given how dark it is, any real mass to it, which is required to create a gravity well.
Yeah, it I mean the irony of a starship sinking is I guess what they were going for here. If I had to pick it out because of that specific line where he says, Riker says we're sinking.
Right. This would make more sense if they were in a decayed orbit around a planet or something like that, or if they were caught in the event horizon of a singularity or something of that nature. But I mean, something with mass to it,
Yeah, they don't even really fully explain it, to be honest. And that is an oversight. I will admit, it's definitely an oversight.
Minimums.
If we don't divert some power, we will start losing life support.
But if we pull any more power from our engines, there will be zero chance we can fly out of here.
And if we divert everything, what does that buy us?
Just a few hours, sir. At best.
Better than nothing. I mean,
that's what informs his decision here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and obviously you're talking about a stellar cast. So, I mean, a lot of facial expressions, a lot of hard decisions. And that's one reason, take our reviews, with a grain of salt, but go watch the damn episode because, we can only show so much without getting our wings clipped by YouTube.
Well, that aside from that, what we're looking at here is a man who's desperate to save the lives of everyone on this ship because he was entrusted to do that. He is terrified of losing any more life, and it is almost paralyzing in his case. Like he's so every decision he makes is to extend the life of the crew as much as possible.
Yeah, and as we learned from a previous episode, obviously he has a lot of loss on his hands due to everything that's happened with losing his son. And we find out that him and Deanna are having some severe marital problems due to it because he kind of shut down. He's
kind of estranged from his daughter as well over this because
Yeah.
he shut down. They didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. And so he's obviously
he's grieving. He's still grieving at this point.
Yeah.
Divert as much power as you can to life support. Eliminate all non-essential functions. Have the crew gather in common areas. Shut everything else down.
Captain!
This sort of thing starts happening.
Yes.
It's pulsing. It's something coming from the nebula. They don't know what it is, but it is it will be kind of explained as we go.
Yep. It's doing a sort of energy pulse, which is damaging to say the least. And since they're a sitting duck, it's just like a beach being bombarded by the waves. Eventually the water erodes everything, even rock. Obviously, so, and that's kind of the metaphor here, is it's eroding away at the ship as the ship is dying itself.
Report! Another bioelectrical wave.
Sir, that did a number on our shields. If we don't lower them in between impacts, we're going to lose them altogether.
I just like the looking around. Everybody's just like looking at each other like, Jesus.
Lower shields.
Carla?
I will say this before we get too much further. The one thing that I do enjoy about this scenario, I mean, as much as it sucks for everybody involved, and Riker doesn't want to make decisions that are going to lead to more death, but he knows that at this point he may not be able to escape that. I mean, that's all very dour and very dark, but I like the fact that they did not go the Discovery route. And by that, I mean, you don't have a bunch of junior officers throwing their shit up in the face of their superior. They're doing their jobs, and they're doing them with aplomb and with competence, and they're obeying the chain of command even in the face of death. That is to be commended.
Yes. And obviously Star Trek Discovery is nothing but a piece of garbage. I have not watched it.
Right.
But
if this was Discovery, dude, they'd be out in the hallway fucking bawling by now.
Yeah, well, what in Discovery, the captain cries like every episode or whatever her name is.
It's a diverse female space Jesus, according to Critical Drinker.
I think that would be somewhat accurate of a description, because it's just an insufferable character. And Discovery is very, very, very. We'll just say it aligns with season 1 and 2 of Picard, which were highly hated.
Well,
Admiral, I thought
I have an apology to make.
I'm saying this to you as a
I was
courtesy.
out of line.
Stop. The Titan's dead in the water. We estimate about 4 hours until the ship is crushed by the gravity well. But we'll probably have run out of life support by then. You were right before.
And here we get some more insight into Riker's mentality.
Yes.
When we buried our son, I watched the coffin being lowered into the ground. It was only 6 feet, but it was so dark. It was like infinite emptiness. You and I have traveled to the far reaches of space. And yet there's nothing that proved to me that there is anything after. And I've tried to shake that. Deanna, as you know, feels everything. But she couldn't live with me feeling nothing. And neither could I, which is why I left and I came here. I was running from this, only to find it again. Well, this is the end, my friend. And if I were you, I'd take the next few hours to get to know your son and to get your affairs in order. I'm so sorry, Jean-Luc.
Riker, Frakes is in top form here.
Mm-hmm.
Top form. I mean, he's playing a man who's not only grieving, but despairing. You know, without hope, and not just for the situation, but for life.
Yeah.
You know, and which is interesting considering the adventures he's been on and the things that he's seen. He said he's seen nothing that convinces him that there's anything that comes after. It's entirely possible that Riker is immortal and can't die. For those of you who don't remember, there was an episode, I think it was in season 2 of The Next Generation, where Q granted Riker all of the powers of the Q.
Mm-hmm.
Riker promises Picard at the end of that episode that he will never use them. But Q never took them back.
Really? You think? I don't. Well, I'm still in the process of rewatching, obviously,
Yeah.
but
Q
really,
never took them back. Riker has held true to his word. There was even a moment, I think, where it came up again. There was an ensign or something crushed under some rocks and, you know, bleeding out. It was one of those situations where if they moved the rock, she was going to bleed out faster, kind of thing. And, you know, Geordi was like, dude, you have the power to do something about this. And he's like, I can't. I gave my word. And he lets the ensign die.
wow.
That is very powerful stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, but he has all the powers of the Q, and with that, I assume comes their immortality.
Interesting.
So I'm not convinced that he can die here, and because he has those things, and just because he gave his word that he doesn't, you know, won't use them, doesn't mean that he's not aware that they're there. And so that kind of puts an interesting spin on his bleak view of nothingness after life.
Do you think they actually thought that far ahead?
Well, probably not.
I
I mean,
mean,
if we're being honest, no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I asked. It was just
No,
like, I mean, because that's a pretty
This is
yeah,
deep cut Star Trek, so
yeah, that would be well, I mean, Terry Metalis, as we did discuss, he was an intern on Next Generation. He was a writer for Voyager and Enterprise. That's super deep lore. I mean, I would love to give him the benefit of the doubt, you know, because he's done drastically better than anything we've gotten. But
right,
yeah, that would be that'd be pretty big. All right, so here we got 7. She is
hunting for changelings.
Yes,
because they know there's at least one aboard.
Yep, there is a saboteur who can blend in very easily.
Till his face ripples.
Yes, in which we do know that changelings eventually they can only hold their form for so long before they do have to revert back for a short period of time.
I believe when Odo was talking about it, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 17 hours.
I do know that in this episode. Go ahead, man.
He can hold it for longer, but it becomes harder and harder, and eventually shit starts just melting because it's just, it's too much. Like there was an episode where he was stuck in an elevator or in a turbolift with Troy's mother, Loxana, and he was trying like hell not to revert to his liquid form because it was embarrassing for him. And eventually he's like, look, I don't even have my fucking bowl to regenerate in and all that stuff.
Yep.
She holds out her skirt and he, gets into her skirt. That's probably not the best way to put that because it wasn't in any way sexual, but it was but yeah, he they couldn't get out. They were sealed in and there was nowhere for him to go, and he had no choice but to revert to his liquid form at that point.
The irony of that not being sexual, especially since Deanna's mom is a very, say, charged creature.
She is, but she's also a very astute and kind woman.
Yes. Hey, JT, what's up, man?
Hey, JT.
How you doing, buddy? Yes. So, but no, we do find out in this episode too that they do need to regenerate. They need to find a place to kind of hide away, almost as if much in the similar direction of humans sleeping. Is kind of how it's understood in this episode. I've always hated how Hollywood holds guns. At least they got it's halfway decent here. Oh, dead guy.
We killed our transport officer, Ensign Foster. Days before Jack Crusher encountered him, in the nacelle control room. He could look like anyone by now.
We have got to keep this quiet. What? The morale on this ship is already...
There is a saboteur on the ship.
But to what end now? If the Changeling's mission was to help deliver Jack if Vatican failed, and there is no advantage to crippling us any further, if Vatican wanted to come and get us, she would have done it already.
It's a great
now,
point.
I'm not saying do nothing.
It is a great point, and it also comes into play very soon. Which I enjoyed that little interaction there. Because her name's Vatic, right? With a T. Yeah, with a T. She has shown to be very methodical and ruthless. But she's also exercised a fair amount of patience, but it also has a limit to it.
Well, she's not entirely sane either.
No, she's not entirely sane. But you do see in this episode, I'll say a crack in her armor, so to speak, but we're getting there.
I'm saying keep it quiet.
Hunt, woman, hunt.
But you remaining in an unofficial capacity could work to our advantage. Understand?
Yes, Captain.
Good.
All right, so she's checking out the ship.
7, 6, 5.
Okay. We're on the medical bay now with Beverly. We're with Jack, and Jean-Luc is going to spend time with his son. So, awkward. No, I was kidding.
3.
Not really as awkward as you'd think.
1.
Beverly is now timing the pulses.
Yes.
No, it wasn't.
Beverly.
Before you say anything.
What up, Laura? How you doing? Thank you for saying it. How you doing there, Maria from Unlocking the Lord, the geeky crochet? She has so many names.
Precious, but
Howdy.
You could give me a moment or two.
We love Maria. She's good. She's good people. Better than JT, that guy.
Of course I could.
Don't come. Don't come. Fine, open. Hey,
He's just like, come on, man.
bang up job your heroes are doing with my ship. Love the view.
Can we talk?
Officially, no.
Unofficially?
No.
We have a problem. There's a changeling on board. That's what kept us from warping away. And judging by the state of the corpse in sickbay, it's been on the ship since before we picked up Dr. Crusher and her son. Something bigger is happening here. And as much as it pains me, we have a major personnel problem, and nobody knows this ship better than you.
She gets invited in.
That's a big moment. I mean, because it's true.
Well, the fact is Shaw doesn't like Seven, but that doesn't matter because he wants to save his ship and his crew.
Yes, and he does wholeheartedly care about saving his crew. That's been his whole entire shtick since the beginning. He comes off very rigid and much. When we first meet him, he's an ass. But you understand why later on, and even in this episode gives more context to why. Yes, Maria, good season. Really enjoyed it. Yes,
agreed.
Yes, very good season. The only season that they did right. Wish they would have just been the one season.
Honestly, I think Shaw's probably one of the best new characters to come out in television recently, let alone just Picard. I really enjoyed his Todd Stashwick's performance.
Yeah, I think that's
and I think he was written very well. Yeah,
I think that's a fair statement. It doesn't help that characters nowadays are so one-dimensional. But it still doesn't negate the fact that he's a very interesting character from the get-go. You end up hating him at first, and then you kind of understand and you start to kind of empathize with him a little bit. And his snarkiness kind of grows on you, which is ironic.
Yeah, and even it becomes clear even in this through the course of this episode in particular, as bitter as he is about certain other characters and events, as unhappy with certain people as he is going to do his duty no matter what.
Yes, he's very by the book, but he does his job and he does it well. And obviously, he was injured in the last episode. It's been 2 weeks, so to kind of recap that, he was severely injured. He did have some internal bleeding, but he has been fixed up, and obviously Riker is in charge.
Computer, reference my personal records. I want to record a private message for Deanna Troi.
Recording. Proceed with message.
In the event.
Yeah, nobody is Maria.
In the event that the Titan is somehow recovered. Deanna, I want you to know. Deanna, I want you.
Recording paused.
I think everybody on fucking planet Earth can relate to that scene.
Yo, I would agree. Yeah. So obviously he still is. He's still holding on to so much that he can't let go. That even with hours to supposedly live, he doesn't know what to say because he is so alienated his family through his grief. I mean, he literally. I mean, because what he was worried he was going to lose his son. He talks about how the turbo lift, the ride from the bridge to sick bay, the turbo lift is 17 seconds, and this was the previous episode, right? And he says it was the longest 17 seconds of his life. And he thought he was going to lose his son then, and then of course he does later on, and it just completely destroys the whole entire family.
Yeah, in the previous episode, he talked about those 17 seconds in relation to the complications with his son's birth.
Yeah.
In this episode, he talks about his son's death.
Yes. So, and we're getting really good context too, and that's something that the storytelling that we get in most shows nowadays, it's so vague and it's so bland that there's no real character arcs, and these have actual. These characters have actual stories to tell that you can actually relate to, and it's well written.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Now, like I said, I think we have we've only had a few minor nitpicks.
Yeah, I mean, and mostly it's like technical shit, like the lighting, for example. And I understand in this particular episode, yes, they're out of power. Yes, they're the lights are dimmed down because they can't afford to, But honestly, most of the ships in New Trek are lit dimly anyway.
Yeah,
and it kind of casts a pall over everything, and that's. I don't know. It doesn't have to be dour. I mean, sometimes Star Trek can be bright and uplifting, but modern Trek seems to have forgotten that. Although we do eventually get some of that in the course of the season.
Well, I mean, you can just compare it to TNG, where it's always well lit, it's always bright. The new ships have this dim. It reminds me of yesterday's Enterprise, where the Enterprise C, obviously comes through a time loop, and it changes everything to where the Federation is fighting not only the Romulans but the God, I'm losing my mind.
Klingons.
Thank you. Fuck.
You're welcome.
Brain's not working. The caffeine hasn't kicked in. The Klingons, and it's very dire. The bridge is lit as in always in wartime, and it has that dark essence to it.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, when they changed the timeline, Worf is no longer a bridge officer on the Enterprise. He's in fact fighting for the Klingon Empire because he was never recovered by Starfleet.
Yep.
Because they were at war.
Yes. And we get, I can't think of her name. We get Sasha. God, I can't think of her last name. Anyway, she's a character that died in the first season. And they talk about that.
Tasha Yar.
Yes, thank you, Yar.
Yeah.
Tasha Yar. They talk about how her death was kind of needless, and it's something that Whoopi Goldberg's character, back when she actually wasn't crazy, discusses there was kind of a needless death. But
the character's not crazy. Whoopi Goldberg aside, the Guinan was not crazy. Guinan was extraordinarily perceptive, and there is some fan theory about how the listeners, the race that she belongs to, are more Q-like than not.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't perceive things necessarily in the same linear fashion that we do.
Yes. They're extremely perceptive. Also, that's actually probably my favorite episode of TNG, to be honest.
Oh, I know. You bring it up all the time.
Okay, well, fuck you. Fucker. I didn't realize.
In case y'all weren't aware, he's got a real hard on for the Enterprise C.
Yeah. What? It's so good. All right, so we got
This is a place of.
We got
10 forward on the holodeck.
Yeah, they're on the holodeck. I thought that was definitely interesting because they say it's that it's still active because it's kind of like a place of refuge and
significance for me. But I don't suppose you've ever.
They also address the fact that because like all the power is shut down to non-essential systems, holodeck would of course be a non-essential system, but it apparently runs on its own separate power source that isn't tied into the rest of the ship systems.
Yeah. And
so they do throw us a bone there, because otherwise this whole thing would be fucking retarded.
Yeah. Well, at least they recognize that. They're like, oh, okay, so from earlier we said this, so that means that we need to do this.
Yeah.
Because we've watched too many shows in recent memory to where they just forget their own shit mid episode, and you're like, wait, what? Like you said this, and then now, wait, what? And it just makes no sense.
Well, would you like to have a drink with me?
Sure.
Well, I have something from my own backyard. Oh, yes. And it's a good year.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I'm not really a wine guy. Sorry.
Whiskey?
Preferably cheap and on the rocks.
I think that's like the second time somebody's knocked Chateau Picard.
Yeah,
I think it happened in the first episode too. There's like nobody wants this dry shit.
Yeah, it was Shaw because Picard brought something for him, and he was just like, And then he asked Riker, he's like, "You're what, bourbon guy?" Or some, I think it was bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they kind of just dismiss Jean-Luc's winery. But that would kind of make sense though for his son, though. I mean, because you're talking about a kid who's on the run all the time. Kind of flies by the seat of his pants, always working for the next job because obviously he's a smuggler. So it would kind of make sense that he would he'd probably drink cheap whiskey. He wouldn't be really into anything fancy at all. So at least to me, that was something that made sense for the character. He's not like his father, but he's also like his father, because when we find out he is his son, it's like, Will is he's like, you don't see it? And he's like, what are you talking, and Picard's like, what are you talking about? And so it's just kind of the irony that they're so much alike, but they're also not.
Right.
The holodeck's still open.
Well, it relies on a small, independent power cell for this very reason, so that in times of distress, it can be a kind of sanctuary.
Right. Everyone crams in here, pretending it's some sort of tropical paradise, while the ship blows around them.
If you want to select a different simulation...
No.
I mean, that's no different than kids putting their heads under their desks in case of a nuclear attack.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember doing that all in the early 90s.
Well, we're still doing it in the 80s.
I know.
But, and they were still talking about it well after that, but yeah, used to, for those of you youngins out there, they used to make school children do drills where they'd put their hands over their heads and get under their desks in case of any kind of emergency. The main one that they were talking about being, of course, nuclear bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing about this is that it will not save you, but it gives you something to do, something to focus on other than the fact that you are about to be vaporized.
Yes. And I mean, I was born in Arizona, so we were so close to California that, they made us do it for similar reasons, not just because of that, but also because of the possibility of not hurricanes, earthquakes.
Yep.
So no, that was something I was familiar with when I was in elementary school, but yeah.
Meanwhile, the Soviets, instead of teaching their kids to duck and cover, were teaching them how to field strip AKs.
Yes. And fucking handguns.
There's a lot of bad shit you could say about the Soviets, but I mean, in terms of preparing for war, I think they did us better, or did better than us.
Mm-hmm.
At least with our kids.
Well, I mean, and the Chinese are continuing the tradition of that to this day too.
Mm-hmm.
There's video of that.
Well, they stole pretty much everything they do from the Soviets.
Love or hate the Soviets, they were a hardened people. I'll tell you what,
Oh, that reminds me, before we get too much further. So last night on Vets Talking, right, when I sent you those the images of the CCCP and the Klingon Empire badges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I didn't show that one on the second one.
Yeah, but you see the similarity. Yes, so. Oh,
absolutely.
Roddenberry did take from real life. The Russians are supposed to represent, or the Klingons are supposed to represent the Russians and all that stuff. So yeah, that is where that comes from. But those letters are in Cyrillic. That's not actually CCCP. It's SSSR.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I don't remember exactly what the Russian phrasing is, but it's Soviet Socialist Republics.
Okay. Yeah.
The P is an R in Cyrillic. Just wanted to point that out, and I wanted to do it publicly because I'm a dick.
What? All right, stop being a dick.
Well, you're like, oh yeah, no, it's the CCP. I was like, no, that's the Chinese Communist Party.
Oh yeah. It was what the fuck? I don't know. I was tired last night too. That was man, I tell you what, it was a fun stream, but it was a little bit different it wasn't as rowdy in the beginning. I think that's why because we had the gentleman who wrote the comic book on, so it was a little more stoic in the beginning.
Yeah, it got a little wilder. I wasn't able to stick around for the whole thing because I had to go produce a show for Amira that kind of got a little nuts at the end too.
Yeah, Logical Spock sent me a DM. They're like, "Oh, Amira's live. If you want to check it out." I'm like, "Dude, I'm still on another stream, man."
He's gonna stop doing that. He sends me DMs for every single person I interact with. He's like, "Oh, they're on this corner of the internet. They're over there." I was like, I can't follow all of this at the same time. Plus, I actually communicate directly with most of them.
Yeah, I know. I was like, dude, I'd love to watch, but I was like, I was like, I'm probably gonna be here for like another 2 hours,
right?
Because you guys started like what, midnight? No, 11:30ish.
It would have been midnight your time.
Okay,
it was
midnight?
A little after 10 here. Yeah.
Yeah, we still had like another. I think we still went for like another 2 hours and like 20 minutes at that point. It was almost 2 a.m. by the time we were done.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wonder where Alf is. I didn't realize he was gonna be this late, fucker. He must be still on that vacation time. I think he said last night he just like got home from Florida.
I was gonna say it's Sunday. He's probably catching up on church stuff.
Yeah, it's true. Cheap whiskey.
Cheers.
I think we need to talk about the elephant in the room.
Yes. Of course.
The hair. When did it go?
You're 23, 24.
A long time ago.
Enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
You know, Jack, I would love to know more about you, your life, your childhood. I mean, it's your call.
I don't really know where to begin.
Then perhaps you might tell me the reason you decided not to know me.
Alf is in the chat.
Hey, what's up? You big fucker. No, we're just giving. Sorry, catch up on stuff I need to get done around the house. Didn't know it was going to take this long, but I'm lurking.
Yeah, no worries, brother. We just
You're
just
good,
giving you a
man.
little bit of shit.
Yeah, we're just fucking rousting you because I figured you'd probably see this at some point. But yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit deeper, and there's kind of a big surprise around the corner on this one.
Actually, there is something that might be of interest to you, given your travels. We were on a medical supply run to Metalis 4. It's a vile place. A real dump. I got stuck in a cargo hold with this Andorian who had a broken antenna. It looked really painful, so I tried to reset it for him. Turns out it's mostly muscle and really sensitive. So while I'm
Yeah, I bet that hurt.
Yeah.
Andorians aren't they're pretty quick to anger and violent species too. So yeah, I imagine he probably got punched in the nose for that.
So we are now back with Shaw, who is working with Seven to figure out who in the hell has infiltrated the ship and is sabotaging everything, ultimately causing what is going on. What's up? You gonna say something?
I was, and then I stopped myself. Go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never encountered one before.
They're goo people, walking, talking clay dough. They can replicate a person on sight alone. Voice, mannerisms, speech patterns, without the head. Most of the time, you can tell. Ask them a question that they should know the answer to. Simple question, wrong answer. Boom, change that.
Yeah, but that would require a huge amount of knowledge about everyone in the crew.
Look, you and I got off on the wrong foot. I underestimated you. You have great instincts. You are a natural leader. Make a great captain one day. Which is something.
I'll say this. I slightly cringed at this because it kind of and I think this is because a lot of us are so jaded. You all the girl boss stuff, it's kind of like, oh, she's so wonderful, but she doesn't know it. I know that's probably most likely what this wasn't.
I think you're cringing because it like right now, if you take that statement by itself, yes, I get that. But
yeah,
in context with the rest of what he says, no, it makes perfect fucking sense.
Yeah, when I first heard this, I was just kind of like going, I was like, okay, are we not really gonna?
I mean, to be fair though, 7 of 9 is not a 2-dimensional fucking.
No, she's not.
She is a 3-dimensional character who has worked her ass off to get to this point.
She's been around a long fucking time.
And
Voyager came out like what, 96, 98?
Yeah, give or take. And she started in a place where she was one of many and learned how to be an individual first, and then a member of a crew that she was not like telepathically connected to, and just learning to be her own person again. And the fact that she's the commander of a starship and Starfleet at this point shows that she's gone a long way. And this is not like it happened overnight. We're talking decades of fucking work. And she is very competent. She has always been competent. She is at times a little too, I mean, she does have flaws. She is full of herself for one. You
Oh
know?
yeah, I mean, well,
Um,
she has very human characteristics. I mean, because
yeah.
obviously she's had to learn to be human again.
Mhm.
Obviously, being formerly part of the Borg Collective, but
Yep. She
and
she she makes mistakes. She owns up to them.
Mhm.
You know.
I mean, I'm just kind of calling out I'm just stating the elephant in the room because it's easy to take a statement like this and go, oh, but we have to look at it through the context, it's so easy to just kind of like write some of this stuff off as, and some people have, even talking about Picard season 3. There's
Mhm.
still people who think that like, oh, it wasn't good, it was super like woke or cringe or whatever the
Oh,
hell you want to call
I
it.
guarantee you there are YouTubers who I'm not going to name specifically right now, but I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, who took this specific thing that he just said and said the whole fucking season's trash.
Yep,
You know,
I think I know
I
exactly who
think you
you're
know
talking about.
exactly who I'm talking about, but
Yeah.
and I mean that's fine, that's your opinion or whatever, but you're taking it out of context. You gotta look at the whole scene. You gotta look at how he's saying it, how he got up to a point where he would say that, and what happens
Hmm.
after. It's not a one-off kind of thing. She's not a Mary Sue. He
No.
certainly doesn't fucking feel that way. It's obvious.
Well,
This is like that scene that the leftists are always going about in Return of the King, where Eowyn kills the Witch King, right? And she goes, "I am no man." And they're
yep.
like, "Oh, if this was, such and such a time made today, they'd say it was." Well, I was like, first of all, no, that line is one for one with the books that came out in the fucking 50s and 60s. But
Hmm.
number two, no, you were ignoring everything else about the scene. When
Yep.
the Witch King says no man, capital M, talking about the race, not
Yeah.
the gender.
Yep.
Right. Number two, he is protected by a spell that protects him from mortal weapons wielded by men, right?
Hmm.
That spell is broken by Mary,
Yep. And no, I don't think that
who is not
was.
a man.
Yeah, I don't think that was. I'm very much okay with that scene.
Yeah,
I have zero issue with it
right.
because
And
literally,
that's my point though, is that it's taken now as a Mary Sue moment by people who don't seem to understand why we call things Mary Sue when it is in fact not. If you look at the entire picture, it's not.
Mhm.
Eowyn is terrified. Her arm is broken. She knows she's about to die and she's got no choice but to fight back. Mary breaks that spell, which allows her, a man, capital M, to slay
Yep.
the Witch King. Now, when she says, "I am no man," obviously it's a bit of a play on words because Tolkien was funny like that.
Mhm.
But,
Yes.
but yeah, no, so I was like, and you take this conversation here. This is not a Mary Sue. This is not a discovery. Oh, we got to talk about how amazing we are while being incredibly incompetent and bawling our eyes out the whole time.
Yeah. Oh
I hate
God.
that fucking shit so much. But
I
there's a time and a place for tears, and it is not after every order is given.
I might have to fucking just watch it just to really digest how bad it is.
Oh,
Because, like I said, I didn't watch season 1 and 2 of Picard, so I don't know how bad Kurtzman Trek really is. I haven't watched it. I've had no desire. And I know that some, but what Strange New Worlds or what is that's the one that had the whole entire what female cast with fuck with I can't think.
Strange New Worlds is the one where they're going around with Pike as Captain
Yeah,
of the
Pike.
Enterprise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So and people were making fun of that because they're like, oh, it's got like an all-female crew. And it's like,
Mhm.
what happened between Strange New Worlds and the OT and then of course TNG where they diversify the crew?
The Horny Alf is saying something here.
Yeah, no. Well, you know what? Actually, I was actually kind of thinking that after this, maybe if we wanted to keep the train rolling or something, like maybe if we reviewed the original trilogy. I'm not talking about reviewing Kurtzman Trek, but like maybe, if to kind of keep the Sunday train rolling. But that's just an idea I was thinking.
We could go back to the beginning and start with the TOS.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Yeah, and then we could, roll into TNG, and we could also move on to Deep Space Nine. Because I haven't seen Deep Space Nine, and I want to watch it.
Oh, you missed out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I was very young when that came out. I mean, I was watching old school
Honestly,
WWF Attitude Wrestling.
I think we probably, if Horny Alf's down for it, sure. Why don't we just start from TOS and go through Enterprise?
Yeah, I think that would be fun to do. Because like I said, I haven't seen anything about the original series in a long time. And I very much enjoyed
years of content once a week.
Yeah. And we would get to talk about something good instead of talk about stuff that's always bad, because unfortunately I'm going to have to drop my Little Mermaid review in the next couple days. Jesus.
That's on you.
Yes, I know. Shut up. But he's like, dumbass.
You were a changeling and not just a dick.
See, he's like, yep, I was telling you.
Yeah.
So maybe you get them from you.
How?
Make them steal their pot.
Pot. I'm assuming you're not referring to cannabis.
Sadly, no.
That joke, I think. I don't think that has place in the 24th century.
No, I don't either. I think they're just trying to be funny. But the thing is, though, is that it kind of comes off, and I know that I guess Disney wouldn't necessarily make like a pot joke, but Disney's made other jokes, and it's weird, because and that's one thing that I do have criticisms. It was fine in the MCU, but when you start transferring MCU style jokes to like Star Wars or like Star Trek,
Right.
or it just
Hey, Bernie.
Hey, Bernie, what's up? It's just weird.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at this point, because cannabis is obviously an earth plant, and assuming it's still around at this point, which it may not be, because you got to remember that there were a whole series of nuclear and eugenics wars in between now and when fucking Starfleet got rolling, and a lot of the earth was destroyed. The surface of it was scorched down, and a lot of plant life died and all that kind of thing. Many people did.
Well, they even cover narcotics in this series, and the narcotics are very different.
They do, but there's space narcotics.
Exactly. So
it's not like so. I mean, at this point, yeah, like even if some marijuana survived, right? It still probably wouldn't be necessarily something that, say, someone who grew up as a Borg on the other side of the fucking galaxy would have any clue about.
I don't think anybody but humans would have any idea, and I think that would be scarce. But I did want to highlight this because Alf said it's been a while since I've watched the original series. The episode is shorter than Picard, I think.
They are, but they were made for network television in the 1960s. So yeah, it's about 43 minutes for commercial to allow for commercial breaks, give or take.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the same way that a TNG and Voyager are. I mean, each TNG episode is between like 41 to, I think, max I saw like 46, 47 minutes. So, but yeah. So anyway, when he's talking about pot, he's not talking about doobage,
which he makes clear, and then he makes one of the dumbest puns I have ever heard.
Yeah.
So it's hard for changelings to maintain their non-goo false form, and so they have to rest in a pot, a vase, a receptacle thing. Sometimes they leave behind like residue goo, like residue. You get a sample of that. You upload it to the computer.
Residue is a dumb word.
Yes, it is. I mean, I think just residue would have worked. Like it's a residue. Like you get. If you have hard water and Florida is perfect for that, hard water. If you don't have like a water treater, get a fucking film from the minerals in the water. That's a fucking residue.
This is true. You get that with most chemical compounds.
It's not a hard concept. Residue is residue. It doesn't
I get that. And actually, if we're being a little honest here, the pot leaves a residue too. Just saying.
Well, yeah, that's why they say don't drink the bong water, folks.
But in this case, like, while the pun is dumb and it made me cringe because the pun was bad, I don't hate that he used the pun because I think that adds to his character.
Yeah.
I think it's like, okay, so this guy enjoys dumb humor. That's an aspect of him that we haven't seen too much of because he's usually so witty and sharp with his tongue. But every once in a while, he slips out with something like this, and you're just like, okay, he's got a dumb sense of humor, kind of like me.
Yeah, and it humanizes him,
Mhm.
which because as we've said, he's not a one-dimensional character. He's actually a well, in my opinion, because I started out hating him, and as I watched the series, I started to really actually like him and his sarcasm, and it was a complete 180. And that's a good television show, and that's similar to what I felt with one of my favorite TV because I only watch like one current TV show, and it's The Rookie on ABC because it's about cops, which and I think it does a very good adaptation of for modern television of how police work kind of acts. But anyway, yeah, one of the main characters, I started out hating the guy, and then like literally within like the second season, I was like, they flush the character out. That's just good storytelling.
Yeah. Side tangent. Do you like cop shows in general, or?
It depends. I like The Rookie because it comes from the point of view of like it starts with the point of view of Nathan Fillion, who's starting his life over. He's like in his like 40s or whatever, and he becomes a police rookie,
Mhm.
and it goes over kind of like the pitfalls and the training of that kind of aspect of what it's like to be a police officer, and they do a really good job.
Okay, because I ask because I wonder if you've ever seen Southland.
Yes, I have the
I
seasons of
think
Southland.
I
Very
think
much enjoy that.
Southland was probably, and I think it's been praised by other people, former police officers, as being one of the best cop shows ever made.
Yes, very much enjoyed Southland. I have all 4 seasons. I
Yeah,
think it's 4.
great fucking show. For those of
Absolutely
you out there,
incredible.
a little hard to watch at times. There's
Mhm.
some fucked up shit that happens in it, but
Yep.
good show. I
Yep.
was just curious. I didn't know if you'd seen that or not.
Yes, I've highly enjoyed Southland. I watched that somewhere around the time I think I started The Rookie. I was very late to the party though. It was already over by the time I started watching it.
Mhm.
Okay, so back to Shaw's dumb humor. I also think it's I think it's a good good segue too, because it kind of shows that he's not always a hard ass to kind of like Seven, who he's been
Mhm.
super hard on, like very hard on, because
Right, and at this point, they both understand who the other person is. So
yes,
when he says the thing that he says, and then he goes, "Which is what I would say if I were not me," and she goes, "Right," instead of just being a dick. Like they both, nobody's actually attacking anybody, and they're just stating that they understand the other person.
Yep, because they're literally looking for an imposter.
Upload to the computer. You have the shit scanned for that son of a bitch.
Thank you, Captain.
Whatever.
5, 4.
See, still a little bit of a dick there, but at the same time, he's not used to getting along with her, especially because she did directly disobey him.
Right,
to-
but he also waited until she left the room to say that, and while she was there, he did his duty. He helped her figure out how to find the fucker.
Yep, yes, he did, and that's one thing. Again, he's very by the book, and he does care about his crew and his ship. All right, so we're back with Beverly, and she's timing the pulses still.
3, 2, 1.
Something that I noticed there. Initially, when they started doing the pulses and stuff, the first time that you see that shit happen, it's on the bridge with that big ass view screen. And so my assumption was that all of that light was coming from the pulse.
Yes.
In this scene, they're in sick bay. They're not near the windows, and it still lights up like that. And you'll notice that it's coming from the lighting in the room, like something's jacking the lighting way up.
Mm-hmm.
Every time this pulse hits, and that's important. That comes in later. But yeah, this is
yes.
where I noticed. I was just like, wait a minute, they're not near a window.
Yes.
Why is it getting bright?
And yeah, that was definitely something that I didn't catch the first time. I'll be honest. It took the second watch through just today to
Mhm.
actually notice that second part.
Yeah, they do a great job of like laying down seeds of things to come.
Again, it's the little things.
Details.
It's the little details that you kind of miss, because if you watch it more than one time through, which I got to be honest, I can't tell you anything Disney recently that I've watched more than one time through because it's awful. Alf, maybe it was a hint of the crew to turn the lights up. Yeah.
Right.
It's too dark. So dark. Like, you see the outline of her hair in her hands, and it's like, that's about it.
Mm-hmm. So Seven's searching for the quote unquote pot here.
Yes.
There,
hidden behind a light.
Yep, and that actually looks remarkably like Odo's.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
No, his jar,
his resting place.
Yes.
I will say this. The pot is quite small for the amount of goo they turn into, but that's just like a minor nitpick. I don't know. That's just me.
The law of conservation of energy does and matter does not seem to apply to changelings.
No,
and it
no.
never has. To be fair, it never has. There's a scene in an early episode of Deep Space Nine where Odo makes friends with this little girl, and at the end of the scene, she's like, oh, you can turn into anything. Or at the end of the episode, to make her smile, he turns himself into a spinning top.
Okay.
It's about half the size of his hand. So yeah, like the size isn't really an issue for them.
Okay, so it's down. Okay. Yeah, look at that. There's Alpha. Says they can compress down to a denser, smaller object. So
actually, I think there was an episode where he was spying on the Duras sisters too, and he was a mouse.
Wow.
So, he's been a duffel bag. So yeah, I don't. It doesn't seem to matter with them, and Alf might be right. Maybe it has to do with more of a condensing their molecules and like compressing themselves than anything else. But if that was the case, though, you'd end up with a really fucking heavy mouse.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's one of those things you have to kind of suspend disbelief a little bit. So
yeah,
it's a television show. I mean, we're not really going to beat the horse that much. So unlike pump action laser rifle.
That reminds me. Yes. Also, that was very stupid. But I forgot to send you that meme of Shadow beating the dead.
The
dead Bree horse.
Yeah. Put that in our DM. Yes. Pump action laser weapons.
So fucking stupid.
For when you need to recharge.
Look, every once in a while, like this season is not perfect. There are some dumb fucking things in it, and that is probably my least favorite thing.
Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest scathing thing that I had an issue with, and it was like right from episode 1. But whatever.
Where's it go?
All right, there's the Shrike.
And we go back to Vatican.
The Reaper sound. I immediately thought of that. Every time that damn thing shows up.
You know what I hear in my head every time I hear that sound now?
What?
It's just the old-fashioned dun dun dun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've kind of used that as kind of like I don't think it was necessary there because it just anyway.
You know what it is it's a combination of like an intimidating roar and that old Far Side comic where there's some guys in a saloon and the bartender says to the piano player, he's like, low key Arnie, bad guy coming in.
Yeah. Just so to keep it kind of lighthearted and fun, we just want to celebrate our good buddy Mr. Shadow of Hawk.
Yeah. That is all yours to abuse as you wish. I did say last night that I would spread that around the internet as far as I could.
Yep. I still can't believe that freaking kid, man, got never banned off Twitter, doofus.
Yeah. Now I can't even complain about it spreading memes about him.
Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, so this is what I was alluding to for earlier. We've only seen her from one angle.
Vaticus presented herself as being in charge, and she has behaved as if she is in charge this whole time.
Yes. And
here we learn that she's answering to somebody.
Yep. She's walking over. I mean, I want to show the actual scene of what who she's communicating with. So that's why I'm not putting it on screen just yet. Ow, my hand. Now, what would you say that looks like? Looks like she's got a little bit of a secret of her own.
Mm-hmm.
And we had not seen that previously because we do not know anything about this character or much about her ship at all. There are no records.
And also, the face that shows up is vague. You know, it's not specific as to, like, it doesn't give you specific clues to the identity of the speaker.
No, but she is being driven by somebody else.
Unfortunately, the starship-faring Jack Crusher couldn't escape the center of the gravity well. No. That's not possible with my ship's payload. The portal device utilizes gravimetric distortion. It is suicide.
It is suicide to refuse. Obtain and deliver the asset. All else is expendable. Your ship, your people, you.
I will pursue.
Conversation over.
Yes.
And then it goes back to being her hand.
Yep. So now we had a glimpse. That is the weakness in her armor. She is not in charge. She obviously does give a shit about her crew and her ship. She does not want to lose it or her life. And she has no choice but to comply because she will be killed no matter what.
Now, see, my initial thought when watching this, given that we're dealing with changelings, was that it was somebody in the Great Lake who was descending from Odo's faction.
Okay. I honestly had no idea. I mean, I was
that was my first thought, because I was like, who the fuck else would command the fucking founders? You know, because that's what the founders are. They're changelings, they're shapeshifters. They were the top dogs of the Dominion. They were the Dominion. And you know, I mean, Odo went back and kind of changed things. So now that we've got changelings who are enemies again, like, you're just like, wait, how the fuck did that happen? First of all. Secondly, who would these people answer to? Because they conquered an entire quadrant of the galaxy. They don't answer to fuck all.
Yes, and because you know, you and Alf have talked about Deep Space Nine takes place takes place during the Dominion War, correct? And then of course it ends
a good portion of it does, yeah,
right before Voyager, or to some extent, because I didn't catch that context, because like I said, I've seen TNG. That's how I started. I did watch Voyager because I had a teacher introduce me to it. An episode had something to do with what we were learning in like a history class or something.
There's some overlap.
Okay.
TNG, the last like season or two of the I think the last season of TNG overlaps with the first season of Deep Space Nine, and the last 2 seasons of Deep Space Nine overlap with the first 2 seasons of Voyager. So there's periods where things are happening concurrently. And in the, like, for instance, the pilot episode of Deep Space Nine takes place, the very opening scene, at the Battle of Wolf 359. Benjamin Sisko, who is our commanding officer throughout the course of that show, was at the Battle of Wolf 359. He doesn't like fucking Picard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do know Cisco's name because he is a highly revered character. So I haven't just heard you guys praise him, but I've heard multiple people. Yeah, Alf says the last two seasons of TNG overlap with the first two of DS9. Okay.
Yeah. So there is, and then the whole premise of Voyager, when because they're in pursuit of Maquis. Well, the Maquis were a group of people who were fighting against the Cardassians, the Cardassian Union, but they were doing so in a way that was in contested space, basically. And so the Federation was bound by treaties to help stop them because basically they were acting as terrorists. And that's how you end up with the mixed crew on the Voyager.
Okay.
And so, but Cisco also spent some time fighting on Maquis because the space station that he commands is in the Bajoran system, which is in Cardassian space.
Okay. And Alf says the last 2 to 3 seasons DS9 deal with the Dominion War. Okay. And so now we are actually jumping back 5 years again. That's not what I wanted to click. This is what I wanted to click. Oh, that's muted.
Metaphor. The lesson being, had he and I.
So we are back in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's holding court at this point.
Yeah.
Given up our will to communicate, we would both have been killed. But I appreciated this impromptu gathering.
I get that reference.
Admiral, this is an official record, but I had heard mention once of an incident with you and your friend, Jack Crusher, a mishap on a shuttle. You later went on to say that it was one of the worst navigational situations you'd ever been in, a no-win scenario.
Well, I was your age, or thereabouts, and dare I say, perhaps even a little reckless.
Excuse me, sir, is this private?
No, please come in.
Okay, now we're back to present day.
Mm-hmm. Before we get too deep into this, obviously these guys are looking for a place to be. They're following Riker's orders. He said to have the crew gather in common areas and stuff, but they're coming in looking lost because they know they're all going to die.
Yes.
Hey
Lou.
Hey Lou Castley, good to see you. So they yeah. Don't forget to start your Tongley fans.
Yeah.
So anyway, they come in and they're looking dejected, but just prior to that, while Picard's holding court in the 10 forward of the past, the story that he's telling when we come into that scene that he's talking about if we had both given up on our will to communicate, that comes from a specific episode where he's stuck on a planet with a guy who only speaks in metaphors.
Okay.
And they have to communicate with each other. They have to learn to rely on each other in order to survive. But it's very difficult because the guy only speaks in metaphors and doesn't understand why Picard doesn't understand him. And Picard obviously has no fucking context for these metaphors because they apply to this man and this man's history and this man's mythology from whatever fucking planet he's from. And it's a great episode about communication, but I think that's the one he was referring to, Darmok and Jalad.
Okay. All right. And there is going to be, I think we're going to bounce back into the past one more time after this, and I think that's about it for context reasons.
Mm-hmm. Look, I get that you might think that I need this, that this might make it all better somehow, but I don't. And I'm not saying this to be harsh. Some people need to be a part of something, others don't.
I think we all need connection, don't we? I mean, look around you.
I grew up mostly on my own. Sure, I had my mother, but that's who I am. Being on the outside, it suits me fine. You found your thing, and I found mine, and that's all right too. So if you think that this is about a moment that I need,
I think maybe I do.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And see, this is something that we've talked about a lot. Is that I knew exactly where this was leading when Jack was saying this. I was like, he keeps saying, if you think this is a moment that I need, and it's like, immediately in mind, I'm like, I know you don't need this. Like, I know who does though. And then of course, Jean-Luc says, I do. And it's like, yeah, that's great context. That's great storytelling. And I very much like that. Like it's kind of predictable, but the thing is though, is that the fact that you can get invested and follow along with what these characters are going through is what makes a good show. And so yeah, I applaud them for this.
3, 2.
That one was sooner.
They're getting faster.
And so obviously that is an issue, but there's the doctor who gave Beverly a hard time, but she came around.
Hanson to biochemistry lab. I have a substance I need scanned immediately.
Biochemistry lab has been shut down to conserve power.
This is wild.
This needs more than a tricorder. Open it up. This is an emergency.
Well, found one of them.
Yep. I gotta take it off screen because that was about 15 seconds.
That was
20 seconds.
That was a nice like I don't like a lot of the effects that they did with the changelings in this, like the visual effects. But I think the arm thing, I think that was a very cool effect what they just did there.
I agree. I also I love the way I mean, even just the actor himself, like going just the way he reacts and then the snarl.
Yeah, he's like, you motherfucker.
Well, yeah, because literally, as we scroll back right now, I mean, he's literally charging her.
Yeah. Well, they're not immune to damage.
Yeah.
They're not immortal. They're not impossible to hurt or anything. But so like when she shot his arm off, yeah, they're liquid beings. They don't have like arms per se, so it's not like he couldn't just make another one. But it's not like it didn't fucking hurt.
Yeah. And of course, to escape, goo monster.
Yeah, is that sack of human fat.
Yeah, I don't necessarily, I kind of think maybe they made them gross looking to kind of add to the effect. Because
they didn't have to though.
Yeah, they didn't have to, but I think, well, you have to realize too that they figured that probably their modern audience that's rolling over from season 1 and 2 is going to be like fucking lost because they're going to have no idea. So I think they kind of made them gross looking as an added effect.
Yeah, again, I'd say they didn't have to do that. They could have maybe because the old school stuff was like computer animated and it was very cutting edge at the time, but it looks very. It doesn't hold up as well in terms of like the technology and all that today. So I mean, they could have done something like with that, maybe updated that a little bit to seem a little bit more real. Hell, you've seen how they do water effects in video games these days. It's not that difficult to make something liquidy come alive. But what they did here, I've like this. Aside from looking gross, it doesn't even move that well.
Yeah, no, it's well, here I'll play it so you can see. Yeah, it looks like a fucking looks like fucking bloody mucus you like fucking spit up or something. It's just nasty looking.
Yeah, and it's got bits hanging off of it like that. That what about that looks like a liquid form to you? It doesn't look like liquid. It looks like chunks of fucking flesh.
Yeah, it looks like kind of looks sludgy and just it doesn't really look that liquid.
Yeah, and I know I bitched about this last episode. I don't like those effects. I think they look terrible.
Yeah, no. I think we would agree. I don't necessarily care for the effects of that, but like I said, I think they went for like this gross looking aspect because it does. It looks like bloody snot or bloody bloody fat. I don't know. It looks like it does look like something you would suck out of a liposuction.
Well, it's like they had to find a visual way to exemplify that these are the bad guys, just in case you weren't aware, with all of the fucking havoc they've been wreaking or anything, but they're the bad guys. So, we got to make them super gross and fucking disgusting. It's like anybody who's aware of these guys from previous Star Trek knows how dangerous they are in the first place. They don't have to be ugly like that. And
Yeah.
secondly, new people coming in have no context for this. There was no reason to make them ugly for them.
Well, I think they made them ugly for them because you have to realize that the modern audience that they've cultivated
It's an ugly audience.
Is an ugly, retarded audience, and a very simple audience who screams about the stupidest things on the planet, because they have nothing
I'm
else.
just surprised they didn't slap a blue wig on that fucking blob.
That would be too on the nose for us, not not them.
There are some things later in this season where I'm just like, part of me wonders if this Terry Metalis might not be more like us than them.
I absolutely think he's more like us than them.
Yeah, there's some plot points later on in the season where I was just like, that's really on the nose.
And the only reason that we got this season to turn out this way is because Kurtzman was like, okay, Picard's a sinking ship. The first 2 seasons flopped, and so much like J.J. Abrams, he's a fucking bitch, and he walked away like, oh, I don't want anything to do with it. Like, I didn't, it's not my fault. And it's like, no, bro, it is your fault.
He's still collecting those checks, though.
Oh, of course he's still collecting those goddamn checks. Fucking J.J. Abrams is still collecting what? $250 million from Netflix, and Netflix is fucking like sinking, almost as bad as Disney right now.
Yeah,
not
also,
quite,
I
but I
don't think Abrams actually fulfilled his end of the bargain on that at all either.
No. Well, I mean, do you think that Kurtzman has fucking fulfilled his end of the bargain on everything he's fucking probably supposed to do?
I think that Kurtzman got himself a nice little locked-in contract that Paramount can't get out of.
Yep, I would agree.
That's what I think happened.
And he's just he's collecting those checks, and he's like, whatever. And then of course his fucking punk ass disappears, and we actually get a good season of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
So, because he had nothing to do with this, his name's on this, but it's much like Kathleen Kennedy, he had nothing to do with it.
Right. Kind of like how Kathleen Kennedy had nothing to do with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, or she had nothing to do with I'd say the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, but she sure as shit did with the 3rd season, and it shows. Hey, Kohai. At work, so dropping by to say hello. I hope you have a great day. Thank you. You too.
Appreciate it.
We showed your newest meme of Shadow earlier. We wanted to give you a shout out. So she's the one who makes all of our memes for us here on Friday. Well, yep, on some Friday nights, mostly Saturday nights, and she does a good job. She loves punching at the kid. I mean, she fucking beats me up more, which I don't give a shit. But
she beats you up more often. She hits him harder.
She probably does. Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. Man.
Yeah, but you like the dildos.
Oh, I do. Yeah. No, I'm super okay with it.
Yeah. See, Shadow's super straight, so it really bothers him.
He's super straight. God, I remember.
He's super straight.
God, I remember that was a thing. That was so stupid too. That was just as cringe as anything else. I'm super straight, and it's like whatever, dude.
5 corridor 8. An officer's been killed.
Go. And things are about to get a lot worse.
So, other than this,
I think that line was unnecessary.
What's the worst jam you've
Yeah, I think it was unnecessary too. But then again,
she could have conveyed that same sentiment with an expressive look, because Gates McFadden is that good.
Yeah. All she would have had to do is kind of like, even just kind of like cant her head a little bit and kind of turn her eyes sideways, like somewhat towards the camera, as if she's talking to some, she just said this, and then she just has like this look of worry on her face. Like that would have been.
Yeah, she's proven that already in this season, let alone all of the other fucking catalog of work that she's done. She's a very good actress, very expressive, very emotive. She doesn't actually, like obviously they give her tons of fucking techno babble because, Star Trek, but she's capable of conveying that same information that was in that sentence without saying a word. And I think that it probably would have been more effective if she had.
Well, and I will. Hey, Alf is here. Well, hello, sir.
Greetings.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the.
Sorry for being late.
You're good, dude.
Chasing the kids around to clean the rooms, get the house straightened up because it was a disaster when we got home.
Well, yeah, what I saw last night, you said you had just got home from Florida or something?
Yeah, we got in at 1 a.m.
Yeah, I was fucking late, dude. Because you hopped on the stream just to, in the chat, and that was just like it for like a brief little bit.
Yeah.
But I will say this for this moment. Even though yes, I think Terry Metalis has done a good job, and Alex Kurtzman's not there. That is what she said is very reminiscent of what we've complained about, because Hollywood tells and doesn't show.
Yeah.
And it's for the morons out there, because it's like, well, they don't get context or something.
That's the problem. Is it Hollywood takes the view that their audience are morons. They don't trust them to follow the story.
I think they're catering the audience of people that the same audience that CNN wants. The mind-numbed people that will just follow them and believe whatever they say and just go along with it and eat up every bit of their content.
Mm-hmm.
And even though this season of Picard is good, and obviously somebody else is the showrunner on it, it still doesn't mean that there aren't some of those retarded ass writers still in that room, and they're like, "Oh, she's gonna say this," and it's like, she didn't need to say that. I think that's there's still going to be a holdover. No matter how much all of this changes, there's going to be a holdover of morons that are going to still poison the pot. I mean, look at what something that just happened on Twitter. What, James Woods or whatever, he got locked out of his account for something stupid, and Elon Musk commented, and he's like, "I don't know why this happened," and it's like, you still have a couple of cockroaches running around, dude. The fucking the plague doesn't just go away overnight.
Well, I mean, go ahead. Alf.
You were exactly right. The mediocrity in Hollywood, you can tell, because they're lowering the standards, and they're changing it to be where everyone gets in, and it's not based on ability. It's reflecting in everything. It's like, I remember movies when I was growing up, they had the ability to use subtlety to tell a story without just telling you,
Yeah. And nowadays it's kind of I mean, I'm not saying it's completely lost, but it's lost on a lot of fucking people.
Well, for example, like last night, or not last night, but yesterday before the big show, I watched Bullet Train on Netflix, which is a more recent film. I'd heard good and bad things about it, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just check it out. Overall, I enjoyed it, but they had that same issue where, like they were trying to do kind of a, Quentin Tarantino-esque, like, here's this bit of side story, here's this bit of side story, this is how it all fits together, but it was almost all just a string of tell, not show throughout the course of it. I still enjoyed it. I mean, I think it was put together well, but there was a lot of that crap in there. It's like and sometimes they would like let something not happen for a while, and you'd be like, "Oh, I wonder what happened to this guy," and then they'd show you his entire goddamn life story.
Yeah. I miss the subtlety of, kind of putting the story together myself through small little hints. That I think that's what makes watching a show fun, because it lets you speculate for future episodes, depending on how they write it. And now it's just cookie cutter, tell this, tell this, and end episode, and then next episode, okay, we're gonna pick up where we left off, tell this, like, and it's just like, I don't know, it's like plot for the sake of plot, and they just
it's even like TNG and DS9, the characters that developed through those shows, you didn't know much about them the first season, but you'd get out through the 7 seasons in TNG, you'd get little bits of their background, their history. And it wasn't just like, I think in the first season of Discovery, they told like Burnham's entire backstory in like the first couple episodes.
Yep.
It's like, leave some mystery to it,
Yeah.
I mean, you remember when Miles O'Brien was just transporter chief?
Yep.
Didn't even have a name yet. And then,
he was kind of a nothing character that first season.
Yeah. I mean, he was just, he was basically a recurring extra. And then by the end of Deep Space Nine, he's got a family, he's got a backstory, he's got all kinds of other adventures that he was involved in. He's got friends, he's got enemies. I mean, they really enriched the character of this nothing burger character. and all that. But you don't get all that right away. Like I was saying, it was a progression through not just so many seasons, but 2 different series.
Mhm.
And it's done so well. And then now these days they just I don't know, they think their audience is retarded, frankly, because they're retarded.
Yes. I mean, that's probably the best way to put it. Yeah, they're literally fucking mouth breathers trying to write television, and it's just not
Well,
good.
It goes back to that they're hiring based off ESG rather than merit.
Yeah. They're hiring based on fucking participation trophy fucking points, unless you're a fucking white guy. It's like, everybody, welcome to the club. As we found out on Vets Talking last night, Frank, he's been in Hollywood for fucking decades. He's worked with a bunch of different people, and he said he's moving to Atlanta, Georgia, to where a lot of the production is productions are moving to, because Hollywood is kind of dead. And he's like, I can't get any jobs out here because they literally tell me to my face. He's like, we don't have a spot for you because you're a straight white guy. And he's like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah. They're like, you're a straight white guy. We can't hire you. We're not going to hire you. What are you talking about? And I was just kind of like, we all know the fucking, that's what's going on. But he's like, yeah, they tell you to your fucking face that they're
He's
not
not
going
the
to hire
first
you.
guy. He's not the first guy who said anything like that. Hell, even Frakes himself a couple weeks back on a podcast said something similar about how, yeah, it's like bad time to be a old white guy right now.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
So, but
Whatever.
I guess my initial point was that the way that was done with Crusher's line there was unnecessary. That could have been conveyed with the look. It could have been cut all together. Honestly, it wouldn't have hurt anything.
No. And it would also save part of the 55-minute episode runtime. I mean,
yes,
this is a longer episode, and I mean, it does need to be fleshed out, but I don't think it needs to be that much.
Sure. But I will also caveat that with, there are also other examples in this very episode of good story building and good subtlety stuff, like with the lights.
Yes.
So it's not like I'm not going to throw the whole episode out because they did this one thing I don't like. I think it was a writing mistake in this case.
Yeah, no, I would agree. We're not bashing on the episode, guys. I think we kind of got off on a little bit on a tangent, because this is just
what we do.
It's just the state of writing in our entertainment, and it's blatantly obvious. So I think we're more sensitive to call that out and say that wasn't needed. This was easily avoidable, and it just. So I mean, we're not trying to beat a dead horse.
No. Unlike our buddy Shadow. Also, Alf, congratulations on making it on time for possibly one of the single most brilliantly delivered monologues in recent memory.
Woohoo!
Woo!
First, well, one involves your namesake.
I mean, not this. It comes after, but yeah.
I always wondered about that. I mean, I know my mother didn't hate you, but
this is a good bonding scene, though.
Yeah,
it is.
Jack Crusher was once my very best friend at the academy, and truth be told, I would have named you the same. Jack was, well, he and I were on leave on Angelius 4, and we met these 2 delightful young women.
Oh, were they delightful?
Delightful and enthusiastic.
Right.
Well, then Jack and I were unexpectedly called back to the Stargazer, but I had...
What's up, Samuel?
Do you think that Jack Crusher finds it very odd that his namesake is his half-brother's father?
That's a mouthful. Don't know.
I think he thinks it was odd that he was named after Jean-Luc's best friend rather than his own father.
Mm-hmm.
Also, how much do you think he knows about Wesley? I'm just curious about that.
Probably only what his mother's told him.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, because that whole situation was weird.
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, Wesley Crusher isn't really mentioned like at all. Like just briefly, but
I think him disappearing with the time traveler that whole plot was a good way to get rid of him and not have to talk about him again.
Yeah. Well,
I think that was part of it. He was also at that age where I think the actor himself was going off to college and wasn't able to film as regularly, so they just kind of wrote him out of the show. But the way that it happened, yeah, he doesn't exist in the same time space continuum as like everybody else does anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he still exists. He's just, you know, elsewhere.
Yeah.
doing something.
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I'm not going to complain because Will Wheaton's a fucking weirdo and he'd be pushing for nonsense in this show. So.
You know, I get that. I wasn't complaining about the actor because, you know, fuck that guy. But
he's a real piece of shit.
You know, when I bring it up, I talk about the character because there were moments in the show with Wesley where he was a very endearing character. Brief moments, mind you, but most of the time I felt about him the same way Picard does in the first fucking season.
Yeah, I know. It's still one of my favorite things. Shut up, Wesley. Just like I do enjoy that.
I think that was what I was saying last time we were here. Is like that was a big development point for Picard. Like he was so harsh against kids the first season, and then like softened on them to the point where they had episodes where he was, like I said in the last one, where he's trapped in an elevator with 3 kids, and he had the whole plot was him stuck there, and they're trying to work things out with the kids and. So. Yeah,
and Wesley was key to that development, so I don't regret him being there for that. You know, I think that was a good thing. But the character of Wesley himself, most of the time, just grates on the nerves.
I would agree with that. Yeah, yeah. No, I was never even as a kid. I was just like, because I was a kid when TNG was on the air. I was like, I didn't care. So.
Hatched a plan to borrow a shuttle.
You mean steal?
No, borrow a shuttle to return to Argelius briefly to...
Get laid?
Hey, we had an invitation. Anyway, on our way back, a micrometeoroid shower hit the shuttle at high speed. It wrecked us. Instantly, we were blind, powerless, and running out of air. We couldn't contact the ship because...
You disabled the comms before you left, so they didn't know that you borrowed it.
We were dead in the water. But we improvised a system, swapped the remaining power between docking thrusters and life support. And we inched our way home. No sensors, no visuals. 10 fucking grueling hours.
Ugh.
Yeah, didn't don't care for this.
That was not necessary, and that is not Gene Roddenberry trick.
Nope, it doesn't need the swearing. I'm still sour on it, but
I get the emphasis, but that could have been achieved with a grunt.
Yeah.
Another thing when he mentions getting laid, you think that's still going to be a term for having sex 400 years in the future?
No, it's a very modern term. Like swearing is a very modern thing. I mean, how many streams are we on together? You know, on the up until recently, due to vacations and different things. But like, how often are we on stream? It's not like every fucking minute of every fucking episode we're fucking. So it's not needed.
Well, I mean, you are.
No. Fuck you.
See?
The only time I think I've said the F word this episode is to cuss you out. Well, 3 times now. So.
Yeah. That's kind of my point.
Shut up. I hate you.
Better.
Him navigating me, firing the thrusters, simply hoping until finally we were home. Did your mother already tell you the story?
Actually,
what a harrowing tale of survival.
Here we go.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt family time. Maybe a little out of sorts. Your mother's.
This is very imperative because there's still some bugs to work out.
I don't know if you said you saw DS9, Ryan, but this reminds me of the first time Sisko meets Picard face to face.
Yes.
I have not seen DS9. I think I've probably seen like maybe slight episodes here and there scattered, but I do not know the story.
It happens in the very first 2-part episode, I think.
Well, he meets Picard twice. He meets him in the beginning of the pilot, and at the end of the second part of the pilot, he meets him face to face after So when he meets him initially, he doesn't like meet him face to face, but he does meet Locutus the same way that all of the ships that were destroyed at 359 did. When he sees him again, this is after he's been unassimilated, I guess is the best word, from the Borg, and he's Picard himself again. And he is because Sisko's not captain, he's a commander, and he's being handed his marching orders by Picard, by the man responsible for all of the deaths at Wolf 359. So yes, there is a lot of tension between Sisko and Picard in that scene.
Yeah, and obviously, I think I've heard you guys talk about this before. About I think when they first met each other, Shaw and Picard, and in the first episode, talking about how the reasons why that he's such an ass to him. Because you guys were like alluding to like, oh, there's a reason, and because obviously I haven't seen DS9, so I don't know the full story behind that, but obviously we know that Picard has been assimilated by the Borg before, and
well, that's like, you remember the 2-part episode from TNG, The Best of Both Worlds?
Yes.
Okay, that's the Battle of Wolf 359.
Okay.
Sisko was at that battle. Shaw was at that battle.
Yeah, it's where all the Federation ships got destroyed before the Enterprise could get there.
Yeah, and cosmically speaking, it's a stone's throw from Earth.
Yeah, I should probably, I might go back and rewatch that episode before next week.
Yeah,
Those two episodes.
Yeah, it's so important to Star Trek canon that in Star Trek Online, if you go to the Wolf 359 system, the only thing that is there is a graveyard of ships and a memoriam to that battle.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. And you've been diving back into Star Trek Online, correct?
Yeah, I've been going through all the story shit that I missed, and some of I got into the Discovery stuff because I'm like, I don't like not completing things, And
Yeah.
the very first Discovery mission,
I suggested not to do those missions.
You did. You told me not to, and I ignored you like a dumbass. And the very first mission, 5 minutes in, I've got 2 non-white lesbians crying in a hallway about how important and competent they are when they are in fact not.
Lesbians. Why are they always lesbians?
Oh my God!
Did they have the side shave cut?
One of them does. Yes. And it gets better too, because I think one of them's Pakistani and the other's Indian. And if they're going to include modern day politics in stuff, they really ought to do their homework, because Pakistanis and Indians don't get along.
No, they don't. Idiots.
Also, most Pakistanis are Muslims. Being gay is right out. Just saying.
It's kind of one of those things that you get thrown off a roof for.
Yeah,
literally.
Like nothing about that makes any sense. And why are they crying and telling each other they're good at their jobs? If you're in Starfleet, you should already be the best of the motherfucking best. Why in the fuck are you? Jesus Christ. Why are you even there if you're just going to be like, oh, am I good enough at my job? Fuck, it was dumb. Anyway, but there's some cool shit stuff.
I want to get back to this point about Shaw. So another thing is good about this is they waited till episode 4 to reveal why he doesn't like Picard. They kind of let you stew on it for 4 episodes, because they introduced that he doesn't like him in the first episode. Don't actually tell you why until 4 episodes in.
Was Picard something that dropped all at once, or was it something that was weekly?
This was weekly.
Okay, so they literally let you stew on it for a month.
Yeah, the season 3 was weekly. I think all of it was weekly.
They were all weekly.
Okay, yeah, I thought they were all weekly. Because as I said, we know a couple of YouTubers who got like the full run and got to preview it. But that was like through a leak. People on the inside kind of sent them the stuff, but yeah, so that's why I was asking. It's not the binge model, so
yeah. Sorry about my rant. Thank you, for bringing me back to reality.
I thought it was fucking funny. Like I ignored you like a dumbass.
Yeah, the only thing that I have to say further about this scene before we go on with it is that Todd Stashwick deserves all the goddamn awards. This is a brilliant fucking delivery.
The emotion that he shows in this is awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of harrowing stories, did your old man ever tell you about the time that he and I first met?
Uh-oh.
USS Constance. Stardate 4400 2.3. Now, come on. You must have heard about the Battle of Wolf 359. 40 Federation starships up against one Borg cube. Yeah, it's just an engineering. Just a grease monkey. And the next second, it's like space itself was burning. 50 of us made it down to the life deck. But there's just one life pod. 10 seats. The thing is, we were all friends. They were all my Jack Crusher. We didn't fight over who should live and who should die. No, we waited for orders. And then finally, some lieutenant comes down and she just starts. You. She's pointing at me. Why me? I'm just some dipshit from Chicago. Now I'm lucky number 10. She didn't count herself. Get in, she says. That's an order. No, I don't. I ask myself the same thing. Did we make a mistake?
I'm sorry.
11,000 dead. Do you know where your old man was on that day? He was on that Borg cube, setting the world on fire! Forget about all that weird shit of the Stargazer. The real Borg are still out there, and they have a name for you. Locutus of Borg. The only Borg so deadly, they gave him a goddamn name.
All right, that's enough.
No. No. It's all right. I understand. Computer, Arch.
Yeah, I gotta say this shows the contrast between Star Wars and Star Trek. Because if this had been Mandalorian, in that one scene we would have heard "This is the way" at least 5 times.
Yeah, and there would have been a goddamn joke in there. That was a heavy scene. That was a really heavy scene. You could feel it. I mean, and they added the sound effects of just perfectly. You know when Shaw's talking about 11,000 dead, you hear the slight fade of screams, and when he says the Borg so deadly they gave him a goddamn name. You hear Picard say it just with an echo. It's very heavy-handed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one reason that I like Star Trek so much, is because it is heavy-handed. Star Wars is a lot lighter than Star Trek is. Star
Wars isn't science fiction, it's science fantasy.
Yeah, and Star Trek has actual stakes. That's why I like it.
Well, and kind of piggybacking off of there, when Shaw is expressing this story, like, you can feel him remembering what it was like, because he's never forgotten. I mean, this is, people talk about, like, their trauma and all that shit these days. A lot of young kids who have no fucking idea what that means beyond the stub toe. But you can see that this has haunted him and followed him for years.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense for his how protective he is of his crew.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think I could probably speak easily for I wouldn't say most, but I would say a solid amount of veterans. I think everybody probably remember, any police officer or veteran who is a soldier in any type of a combat style role of any kind. You remember the first time you pointed a weapon at somebody and were willing to get, to pull the trigger, or you remember the first time you saw a dead body, somebody who, these are surreal moments. When he's talking about 11,000 dead, you're never, ever, ever going to forget that. Yeah. That's not something that's probably ever going to move on, that you're ever going to get over. There's always going to be like a hole there. You might learn to live with the hole, you know, but yeah, I mean, if you come face to face with the guy who did it, you're gonna hate him.
Well, he said 43 starships, 43 Federation starships against what, single board cube.
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, only the Enterprise is talked about as having survived that.
Uh-huh.
You know, and the Enterprise itself had a complement of I think 1,200 at the time.
The Enterprise D had a complement of 1,000 and some change, but that doesn't include passengers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like family members and civilians that were on board, that they aren't included in that number. That's just solidly crew.
Isn't the D? Didn't they say in an episode they have roughly with every life on board about 1,500,
something like that.
I think it fluctuates, but yeah.
And even the Nebula class and the Enterprise C, they still had 500 to 700 people apiece.
Yes, and obviously, yeah. I mean, talking about a lot of fucking people. It's a city of it's a small fucking town of people in a fucking ship, and you're talking over 40 or more, like 11,000 fucking people just dead in an instant.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of those ships, you have to remember too, were recalled to that location because they were close enough to that region of space. Which this includes ships that were not meant for combat, like science vessels, exploratory vessels.
Could have also been ships that were more outdated that just
Yeah.
Federation hadn't decommissioned yet.
Civilian transports, even
anything that probably had a single gun on it or more.
Yeah,
So-
at that point, the Federation was just throwing whatever it could between the cube and Sector 001, which is Earth.
Well, they make this
I'll
one
be right back real quick,
documentary-
guys.
This one documentary I saw that said that if you look at the Federation during TOS, especially the TOS movies, it was a force geared for war.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the Federation at the beginning of TNG, it's almost like a force because they've been in kind of a lull. The Romulans kind of disappeared. They made peace with the Klingons. They made peace with the Cardassians. So they had a long period of peace.
Mm-hmm.
So they were not gearing their ships. The Enterprise had a lot of weapon systems on it, but most of their ships were getting old and outdated.
Yeah, and this was what, about 30 years or so after TNG starts? About 30 years or so after the last like major Klingon conflict.
Yeah. So they've had 30 years of peace and budget cutting for their military and their weapon systems, and the Enterprise is the peak of that. So that's why it's still powerful enough. But they were still carrying around ships that were from the TOS movies. So that shows that the Federation is kind of cut back their funding, for Starfleet at that point. So that's why the ships were just, a lot of those ships that probably fought at that battle were outdated, and that's why they're just deleted so easily.
The Enterprise D was cutting edge.
Yes.
Right. It was the only one of its kind. Well, they talk about the sister ship later in TNG, but at the time, I think it was
Yamato?
the only one. Yeah.
Well, the irony of all of this, including the name Yamato and talking about Wolf 359, actually kind of reminds me of a little bit of the attack on Pearl Harbor. One adversary taking extremely minimal, any type of minimal damage, and taking out a massive fleet of ships. Like even the Yamato was actually a Japanese battleship.
Yeah.
From World War II.
And
it was a massive fucking, it was the biggest battleship. I think probably even bigger than the Bismarck of the Nazi origin.
It was the biggest.
Yeah, it was fucking huge.
I think that at this point, after Wolf 359, you see the Federation start dumping a ton of money into research of weapon systems for ships and beefing up, making ships that fight the Borg. You saw the same thing. You saw the same thing in DS9 when they encountered.
That's how they came up with the Defiance class.
Yeah, when they encountered the Dominion, they did the same thing because they realized they were outgunned and outclassed by the Dominion, and they started ramping up production of warships. Although the Federation doesn't call them warships.
And that's part of why the Defiant is as small as it is, and it was the first of its class as well. And it also received several upgrades that none of the other ships in its class got, including a Romulan cloaking device that was on loan from the Empire. but it is effectively a warship. But they made it small and innocuous looking and all that stuff, and most of it's like,
they call them escorts in the in
yes,
the Federation.
they call them escorts because they didn't want to flat out say, no, we're making fighters, we're making warships. The sole purpose of this ship is to kill other ships, which is what it does.
Mm-hmm.
You saw First Contact, right, Ryan?
Yes.
Yeah. So when they find Worf after they battle that cube, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ship he's commanding is the Defiant.
Okay.
That is
Yeah, because they beam him over, and Riker says, "Tough little ship," and Worf's like, "Little."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The irony. Yeah, Nemesis, I think, was the last TNG movie that I've watched, and I know that how people feel about Nemesis. So, yeah, been a long time. It's on the list. First Contact's on the list after TNG.
Right, but Alf's right. After any kind of disaster like a 9/11, like a Pearl Harbor, like these kinds of things, like the military production ramps up for the Federation.
Yeah, I mean,
and after Wolf 359, they started pouring money into offensive and defensive technologies as opposed to just exploratory. And then again, when the Dominion War began, they started doing it there too. I mean, to a lesser extent with the Maquis, but they were already kind of ramped up from the Dominion thing at that point, and it just tensions with the Cardassians and all that crap. But yeah. So
yes, indeed. All right, so Picard leaves, and Shaw is obviously probably gotten some of that venom out, but his crew is like, whoa. Because obviously, probably most of them had no idea. And
look at their ages.
Yeah, look at their fucking ages.
None of them were like 359 happened decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
They've only ever heard about it, just like kids today have only ever heard about 9/11.
Yeah.
They don't remember it. They didn't witness it. They weren't there. They've heard stories about it, and now they're listening to a story, a visceral story from a man who witnessed it firsthand.
God, that literally makes me think of Shadow, because fucking he's fucking 20 years old, and 9/11 is over 20 years ago. Like, yeah. Jesus fucking Christ.
9/11 happened before Shadow was born.
I know. I remember fucking 9/11. I was still in high school. Like, I remember getting up because I had a late start to school, walking upstairs, and my dad is like, my dad was watching it on TV. Like, my just to think about that is wild. That Shadow wasn't even fucking born. Fuck, makes you feel a little old.
You should, because
yeah,
you are.
No, I was in college when that happened.
Hey, Clue, what's up, buddy?
They interrupted our class to put on the TV and
yes.
watch a little while, and then they sent us all home.
Yep, we watched it. We watched it, and then I think everybody was sent home around like 11 o'clock. I think I only went to school for like 2-3 hours that day.
I was at work when that happened. I was working overnights, and it was early in the morning, and it started coming in over the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Because I lived in Colorado at the time, so I was it was earlier for me than it was.
It would have been like
New York.
7 in the morning.
Yep.
Yes, it was, and we started hearing it over the radio, and we're just like, what the fuck? So my shift ends, and I get home, and I turn the TV on, and just in time to witness the second plane.
Yep, I saw the second plane hit because I didn't have school. I was in like a vocational type program because I had extra credits, so I got to go to school later, and it didn't start until like 9:15 or like 9:30, and I got up just in time to see the second plane hit, and it was just like it was fucking wild.
For you youngins out there, there are going to be moments in your lives where you're going to remember exactly where you were and what you were doing when they occurred.
Yep. And 9/11 is definitely one.
I hear a lot of people say the same thing when the first shuttle blew up on takeoff.
Yeah, Challenger
7. Yeah. I remember watching that, but I was like 6. So, but I also remember it was like a year or so later, the Berlin Wall came down. I remember watching that too on live television.
I mean, yeah, the Berlin Wall coming down was a huge fucking deal too. Clue. I was at band rehearsal for the convocation of the first day of college that semester.
Yeah,
wild shit, man. God, just to think about it though, that kid, that fucking Shadow was not even fucking alive. So he has literally no fucking context. And that's literally what Shaw is dealing with his crew right there, because they're like, holy fuck.
Yeah, Wolf 359 for them was just something they learned in school.
Yeah. I do like how he says, "Forgive me."
Give me. At some point, asshole became a substitute for John.
I like the line. I just don't know if like they could have used a different word than asshole.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, people said turn on the news. New York City is being bombed. Yep. Okay, so moving forward here, we are following Picard and Jack again.
Hey, bro. What happened back there? You don't need to explain yourself to me.
Thank you for your time, Jack. It meant a lot to me.
That's a brush off.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
There's a pattern. It's building and building, and it's going to crescendo.
What are you talking about?
This
Sounds like an orgasm.
Bring in matter and expelling energy, which means somewhere
Space
in the center
jizz.
is reconstituting the matter.
Please, you know what? Just for the record, since I'm watching the Will and Tiva show, like I'm a little sensitive about jizz since the worm jizz is fucking coming up. Like, like,
well, at least that's fantasy jizz. This is space jizz. There are different jizzes.
Why is there got to be any kind of jizz in fantasy? It doesn't need.
I don't
to
know
be
what
jizz.
kind of fantasies you have, buddy, but
I don't need jizz in my television shows. Okay.
what was that Alf said last week? Woo,
woo, yeah.
Zooms into energy. Energy is mathematical, logarithmic, but the increasing intensity and narrowing frequency of the waves implies something else.
Yeah, found the juice bar.
Big space jizz. All right, that was my fault. I did it.
Contractions.
Contractions? You mean like a birth? Of what?
I don't know. But if it's anything like these smaller waves, once it hits for us, it will be over quickly.
And you'll need a cigarette after.
I mean, maybe a sandwich and a glass of water.
Woo! Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good, man. Like I didn't think of it that way, but it's super funny now that I do.
Well, just the way she's described it, the language she's using to describe it. Yes, you could apply that to a birth type of scenario.
Yeah.
But it really says orgasm.
I think they were trying to get away from that, but I don't think it necessarily worked for pervs like us.
You seen the lights? If we knew when those waves were coming, maybe we could plug into them. Get a little extra juice, and then
we could hitch a
juice
ride out of it.
Coming.
God damn it! Now I think they're doing it on purpose.
I know, because that's all I can hear now. Is just like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, so we're just gonna euphemism all the way through this.
Get a little extra juice when it's coming. Like, God damn it!
This cannot work. The waves rolling right over the ship. We need to somehow sustain contact.
Yes, we need to move with the waves.
we divert all power to thrusters.
And if we fly fast enough, the waves won't roll over us.
You need to ride that wave. Ride that wave, baby.
You gotta make sure the thrust is right.
You gotta make sure the thrust is right so you can ride that wave.
You can't force it. You just got to go with it.
Don't fight it. Just let it happen.
Find your rhythm.
I'm going home. I'm done.
They need some Space Barry White up in this bitch. That's all I'm
Oh
saying.
God! Now I really think they did it on purpose. I would actually say they did it on purpose for people who are more intelligent, but we know their audience. Most of the audience is not. So, woo.
Use the energy drawn from it, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. We hightail it out the nebula, away from the gravity well, away from that ship out there, and away from our new friends, the space.
So after it's over, you just wait. You just leave.
Away from the space babies. He said space babies.
He does say space babies.
And now she's talking about amniotic fluid. I swear to God.
Swimming in its amniotic fluid. Now, we've encountered species before, life forms that thrive.
This is true. This happens several times throughout Star Trek.
It does.
Spaceborne organisms or cosmozoans.
I want to say that was in the first season.
The
First
Snidarian,
season of TNG. The
episode.
They look like
this
space
pilot.
squids.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
that was the pilot, the mission at Farpoint.
was
They
Farpoint,
were
yeah.
later named Snidarians, I think, but they're spaceborne entities. There's also Tin Man is a spaceborne
Yep,
entity.
that was another one.
There might have been one in TOS. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Well, I mean, hey.
But yeah, they're
I'll go
generally
for it.
referred to as like cosmozoans as opposed to protozoans, which are microscopic, because these tend to be massive beings that don't require an atmosphere or a ship.
Oh boy,
Exactly.
this is insane. To get up to speed, we need to fire thrusters, which will drain life support in minutes.
But it's possible that we could absorb some of that energy. Use it.
What about the asteroid field that's out there? We barely have enough sensors to make it through that. If one of those hits us, we've lost the wave.
Navigate manually. Use the docking thrusters to steer around them, like you did.
I know that story too, kid. This is not a two-man shuttle. The amount of thought and orchestration that this would take, Starfleet protocol states that we stay in place and wait to be rescued.
No one is coming to rescue us, Will.
The power array will explode.
We wait and we die here of suffocation.
I about to say I'd rather fight for
It's
a chance.
It's
than
kind
sit-
of a
wait to
we're gonna-
die.
It's kind of a we're gonna die either way, so let's just give it
Yeah.
a try.
Yeah. It's like, well, you can whip your fucking dick out and fucking see what happens, or you can sit here with your thumb in your ass.
I kind of get where Riker's coming from in this, because he is now desperate to preserve the lives of the crew on this on the ship, and and if he can't preserve it, then to extend it as long as possible. And this way, they might survive, but if they don't, it will be very brief.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do see the dilemma, but I would probably be one to want to risk it too, because if there's a chance to save everybody instead of wait to most likely die, I would rather not.
Sure, but Riker's not there yet.
No, he's not there yet, because he's still holding on to the grief of, obviously, the death of his son. He is afraid of death.
Yeah.
I mean, which, that's a very human thing. Human beings are afraid of death. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Everybody's afraid of death.
Well, he gave a clue earlier in that speech to Picard where he said that he's seen nothing to indicate that anything comes after.
Yep.
Like, of course he's afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was an erroneous statement on his part. I think that Riker has, in fact, seen things that might indicate that something comes after in his career, but he didn't interpret them that way, obviously.
No, and he's still kind of stuck in a state of hopelessness.
At least we will have left something behind. It's a wonderful idea, Jean-Luc, but in a moment, 100 things could go wrong. I cannot choose certain death.
Deanna would say it's about trust. Look where we are, here, all of us, in this moment. So let's do what we spent our entire lives learning to be great at.
She makes a good point here. I get what she's trying to do, but if I were in Riker's position, in his shoes, I would look at her and be like, where the fuck have you been for 20 years, and how dare you use my wife's name against me?
Yeah, I would agree, because she's been fucking literally absent for fucking 20 years. Like, she's the only one who has not stayed in contact.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else has stayed in contact with each other but her. So to kind of waltz back in is a little.
I know her excuse for not contacting was because of the Jean-Luc's son, but she still could have stayed in contact without mentioning the son.
Yeah, and
she could have done that, and she could have just not been in contact with Picard too. But she cut everybody out.
Yeah, she cut everybody out because she knew that if I mean, I'll give her credit for this. I mean, if anybody found out, obviously they would say something to Jean-Luc, but it's like, you don't get to waltz back in, and it's an arrogant statement given the state of how you left things, and that was your fucking choice. And I think she needs a little bit of backlash for that, in my opinion. I think she should have got a little bit of a tune-up, but anyway, he just walks. He was nicer than I would have been. He just walked away.
If this is The end. Let's face it together. Doing what we know we do best.
See, this makes more sense when Picard starts saying the same thing Beverly said 2 fucking seconds ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the exact same thing. It means something to Will because Picard's been in Will's life. Picard has been a part of everything. He's been there. So when he says it, it carries different weight, and I think that's part of why he's able to walk away from Beverly because again, she walked away.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what they were symbolizing is that she walked away from all of them, so he walks away from her.
Yeah, but at the same time, it basically boils down to, hey, we've got some nostalgia on our side. Let's give it a go. And he fucking changes his mind over that.
Yeah, because they've been through fucking hell and high water for fucking what? Picard takes place how long after TNG? 30 years?
30
years?
Yeah, give or take, yeah.
So yeah, they got a lot of rapport there over the years.
The nacelle covers are designed to prevent the plasma conduits from absorbing too much radiation. So if we could manually open them, we might be able to channel the energy from the wave right down to the warp core. Now that could work. All right, everybody?
Let's do it.
Get the hell out of here.
That I'm okay with. Let's get the hell out of here.
The music swelling there is just right. They again got to give props to the music guy.
Yeah,
that guy's fucking awesome. But when he turns around and he starts saying, "Okay, so if we're gonna do your plan, we're gonna do it, but this is how it's possible to do it, and we're gonna have to do it that way." That seems more like the Riker of old. He seems like he's coming out of a shell a little bit.
Well, I mean, and he also knows the Titan as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jean-Luc doesn't know the Titan. This is the first time he's been on it, correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
First time they've at least referenced it.
Yeah. So he's never been on this ship. Obviously Shaw. Well, Riker was formerly the captain of it. Shaw's the captain now. Now Riker's acting captain. The flip flop, which is, I mean, perfectly fine with me. I'm actually glad they did it that way. If you want my honest opinion. So I mean, it would have been weird. They would have turned it over to anybody else but Riker, who'd been the previous captain. But
yeah, that wouldn't make any sense at all.
No, but I mean, if it was like Discovery or something,
right,
they would have turned it over to the girl boss.
I would say, however, though, that Shaw probably knows the ship better because of his engineering background.
Oh, absolutely. I mean that's without question, which you see coming into play here because Shaw obviously helps in the process.
Well, it's also that when they refit the Titan, because I don't know if you've seen pictures of the original Titan, it looks completely different. So it wasn't just a simple. It wasn't a simple refit. It was they completely changed.
No, I have not seen the original Titan.
The shape of the cells, which way they point, and the size, the shape of the saucer. It's all like completely different. But they did it for nostalgia's sake. They wanted to make it look like a Constellation or a Constitution class.
Mm-hmm.
A newer looking Constitution class. So
okay, yeah, no, I have not seen the original. I've only seen this.
So Riker probably wouldn't be as familiar. Shaw would probably be more familiar because he's been the captain of the ship, the refit version.
Mm-hmm. This is part of what we've been talking about. Holy darkness! It's like if we were to
look, space is dark. I get it, but
yeah, but it's like Jesus.
They have lamps inside the ship, for Christ's sake. Turn them up a little bit.
Yeah, I know, and it's like, good God, like if we were to leave it on the screen, because remember the one time we got fucking clipped while it was paused. Mm-hmm. If they were to clip us on that'd be fucking movie magic, in my opinion. Because how in the fuck would you?
Honestly, I would find that hilarious because
I would too. I would laugh my ass off.
Because see anything?
It's like,
it's like we can't see anything. I don't know how they can see anything.
The fucking bots, they're like, we got you. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, it's super dark. We get space is dark, but Jesus. Still a pretty ship. I do like it, but all right. So the ship is starting to they're starting to kind of power it up and everything.
Crew of the USS Titan.
I like that too. The old school yeoman's whistle.
Yeah, that was the whistle. They even used that in the TOS movies.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did like that when
Riker. We would plan to escape, but to do so, we'll need to draw every ounce of power that we have left on this ship. We're going to use these energy waves to jumpstart us. I'm not going to lie, it's a hell of a risk. Anything goes wrong, well, anything goes wrong, we'll all know pretty quick. I know many of you don't know me, but like any captain, I know something about you. I'm only as effective as you are. And I also know from experience that if we all hang tight and work together, we're going to get through this.
Captain Shaw, I realize that I'm the last person you want to see right now, but I need your help, despite the fact that you are indeed a dipshit from Chicago.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, I still don't care for the
He's
cousin, but
not.
it's fair.
I agree, but he's not just swearing. What he's doing is he's throwing Shaw's words back in his face, and I don't have an issue with.
Yeah, I don't either, because obviously, in the look on Shaw's face, he's like, "Wait, you heard me?" And he's like, "Yeah."
I like his response.
He's
like, all right.
He's like, nice.
Yeah. He's like, all right, fair enough.
And you just realized that in spite of the fancy retrofit, the inner workings of the nacelle shields is over 20 years old, and these kids know how to hotwire them. So.
We need an old grease monkey, like yourself.
Hanson, give me 5 and meet me at missile control.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Narrow band frequency reading. Output. Gravimetric frequency.
How do it, Doc?
At least one more.
Like, once again, I got to point out too that like Shaw's snarky as shit. You know, he said his piece earlier. Picard's very clear on where Shaw stands with him. When he comes to him and he tells him, he's like, "You got to help us out with this because you're the only one who can." Shaw goes, "Fuck you," and okay, let's get started.
Yeah.
You know, he's all about duty. He's all about getting the job done and getting people home safe.
Yep. And I mean, it very much alludes to his character through the whole entire the whole entire 4 episodes thus far. So it's not out of character. And I do like the fact that Picard let him say his piece. You know, he's like, "Look, dude, I get it." You know. So that's also I updated everybody's information in the description because we were all kind of dragging ass a little bit this afternoon. I forgot to do that, but it is updated now, so everybody's information's in the description of my channel, and Samuel can obviously update his at his leisure.
I did it last night while you were sleeping.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Eat a dick. You said I say fuck you. I mean, until now.
Yeah. There's that swearing again.
There's that goddamn swearing in this fucking show.
No, that changed when you really wanted to screw us. Best place to do it, Dad, would be right here, right now.
Yeah.
Signal, I'm thinking.
As much as I hate to admit it. Commander Hansen to Captain Riker.
Copy that, Commander. Riker out.
What can I do to help?
How about you on the bridge with your mother?
Shut down everything you can. Transfer all power to the thrusters.
Transfer sequence complete, diverting last remaining power to main thrusters.
Okay, so hold up. That is LaForge at the helm.
Yep.
And that's important because I think showing that right now undercuts the next scene's seriousness.
I didn't think about it that way.
I think that the tension that is supposed to be in the next scene and the uncertainty of it is totally thrown out the window by showing her right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's actually a halfway decent point. Yeah.
To emergency safety zone. All crew to emergency safety zone.
You know, I may disagree with you on that because there's a comment that Shaw makes. No, I think it was Shaw makes in the scene, the next scene you're thinking of coming up. I'll point it out when we get to it.
Okay.
All right.
Warning, light deck is offline.
Only a few minutes of life support left, Captain.
Everyone take a deep breath. Hold it if you can.
Shot a bridge.
Working on these cells. I need a few more minutes to get these covers open.
Gravimetric frequencies will collide.
2 minutes till the final wave.
Captain, you've got 2 minutes. Well, seeing as you're the only one here with any real experience flying blind, Admiral,
Woo!
you have the con.
Interesting.
There's the cue.
Yep.
Ensign LaForge, let's go home. Bring us about 225 Mark 16. Half thrusters, 1/4 power. Ready opposition to receive the wave.
1/4 power, aye, sir.
I think Picard comes alive when he sits in that chair again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And obviously you can't see it because it's not on screen because we're not trying to get clipped and blocked midstream and taken down. But Will turns and smiles at him. He's like, "There it is." He's like, "That's what we've been, that's what we've been looking for." That sense of hope.
Good luck, everyone. Engage.
Yeah, you did.
There it fucking is. Anybody else get half a chub when he said that?
Yes. Yes, because you want him to say it the whole entire episode. And
shit porn.
And just for the record, they don't abuse that phrase. They really
No.
don't. Like and it's like in The Mandalorian, they say this is the way 87 times an episode now. It's like this is the way, this is the way, this is the way.
Yeah, it got
like going,
ridiculous.
it's like going, okay, how many ways are there? Like we go this way, that way, what the fuck?
I mean, it's like saying I am Groot.
Yeah.
It means nothing and everything at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mostly nothing, though.
Mostly nothing. Oh, God. You ready to ride that wave?
76%.
Siphon power from the console red.
Good work, sir. We're up to 81%.
Keep transferring the thrusters. We must be at full power to catch this wave.
Record 7. Get the cell covers open or we can't warp.
Almost there.
Next wave is our last chance. Are you sure the two of you can execute this alone?
We've got it. Working as fast as we can.
All right.
One is open. One more to go. Commander has to go make sure that those manual locks are off.
So let's pause it for a sec. So at this part, I think they said earlier, and I missed her comment, but she said, "Wouldn't be this at this point be the point that they would be wanting to sabotage us the most?"
Mm-hmm.
So they're setting up. That's why he told her to leave.
Right. I get
expecting
that.
someone to show up, but he says something after the said someone shows up.
Yeah,
that I'll point out when we get to it.
I know what you're talking about. I'll just say this before we get to it. It didn't severely bother me, but it did bother me in a sense because obviously we saw one character one place, and then of course it is a little bit later. Characters in another place, and I do think it undercuts it a little bit if you're not necessarily paying close attention.
I just think the scene would work better if it wasn't somebody that we obviously, as the audience, already knew was somewhere else.
Yes, yeah, and I do think that it makes it a little less.
But it also doesn't take long to get around on these ships, so
no,
she could have easily gotten in a one of the tubes and made it down there.
Could have, if she wasn't busy piloting the ship through an asteroid field.
But they're also kind of expecting this to happen. They're expecting
they're expecting an ambush of some kind. But I see where you're getting at with that, Alf. I just think it would have worked better with somebody that they were both familiar with who wasn't necessarily right there, because like Jack, for example, right.
Mm-hmm.
All we've seen of Jack was Picard saying, "I want you on the bridge with your mother," and he goes on the bridge, and he's just kind of background there. He's not really focused in the shot at all. He could have been him slipping away, or something like that. But for LaForge, who's integral to what the maneuver that they're trying to pull off right now, I think for an audience, obviously for the characters, it doesn't really matter who it is that shows up, and it works just as well for
True.
it to be
She is
LaForge. But
she is the helm, so that
yeah.
I see what you mean. It does undercut it.
So
it doesn't make sense.
Just for the audience, from our perspective, it looks like this could have been a scene that was so much more tense. Like, what if it wasn't, what it actually is, or like we don't know. But they just showed us that we do know that this is not who she says she is.
I think they used her because of who her father is. I think that was why.
It's just
so
I think this scene could have been more tense than it was. Is all I'm getting at.
I think they said, okay, obviously the changeling's going to have somewhat of a background of everybody on board. So, but not knowing the true situation is going to assume maybe she knows some stuff because of her dad.
Well,
so she shows up in engineering. But
her relationship with Seven also is what they point to.
Yeah,
sure, and that makes sense. That does. It just I don't know. It struck me as like, oh well, this is obviously the thing.
Yeah, the only thing I could draw on is that I was assuming that given who her father is and given her relationship with Seven is why they chose her. But obviously, we're putting the cart before the horse because we haven't shown anything. So we'll show it now. The audience is like, if you haven't seen this, they're like, what?
Yeah, they've also though made mention of the fact that yes, she is her father's daughter, but she is not the engineering prodigy that he was, and she went into a different field that she does have an affinity for, which is piloting.
Yes, and crashing a little bit too.
Sir, I heard you could use a hand. My father is Geordie LaForge, decorated Starfleet engineer, legend. I can help.
Name drop.
Okay, kid. Give me that torch.
Which, as we were just discussing, is given the basic knowledge the changeling would have. Yeah,
doesn't seem to know what she's looking for.
Nope. She looks. Yep.
One nacelle cover is open now. If only one nacelle is exposed, we'll be able to fly but not utilize warp. Am I correct?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah. Given who your father is, you would probably know that. You might not be a prodigy, but you would still somewhat know that. So asking that question is,
Turn around.
Bitch.
Commander, I said turn around.
It just had that connotation of like turn around. You expected them to say bitch.
But in true Star Trek fashion, unlike our buddy Ryan here, Seven refrained from cursing.
Exactly. Well, that's why I made that comment. It literally, that's why I said bitch, because it had that connotation, but they didn't do that.
I think that is a perfect example of how.
If it was Space Jesus from Discovery, she would have said that.
Yeah, she would have probably 2 or 3 times and then burst into fucking tears.
Do they really cry this much?
Yes.
You guys keep alluding to the tears.
They do. It's fucking. That's so bad. I mean, it's almost like they could lubricate the ship with it or something.
I think they talk more about their relationships and love and whatnot more than they do science and exploring.
Is everybody like on their period on that show or something?
Yeah, even the gay dudes.
It's always that time of the month, huh? Their cycles have synced up 24/7.
Yeah, it's
God, it's awful.
But I think it's right here, Seven implies the curse word. She does not say it, and I think that frankly, the writers could take a cue from this one scene about how that's done. Don't need to throw the F word into everything.
Nope. And that's exactly why I said it, because that connotation is very clear of literally the way she says it. Like, I got you, you witch.
There's some confusion here. I was sent to help, Commander.
I specifically told Captain Riker not to send anyone.
Commander, it's me.
Commander what, Forge?
Commander Hansen.
You lose.
So, what you know?
Ensign LaForge always calls me Commander 7. Out of respect.
Good call.
Thruster's still gaining power, sir.
And now she's back on the bridge where she really is.
Yeah, I was just alluding to the comment where they said all people were to remain at their stations. I think Shaw said that.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it was 7. I can't remember who said it, but and then afterwards she says, that was the name she used for me out of respect.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think saying out of respect makes sense in the context of Seven and Shaw's relationship, because they're obviously, they're working together, but they're not friends. And, Shaw has consistently refused to acknowledge her by the name she prefers to go by, kind of thing. But I don't know that line was 100% necessary. She could have just said she always refers to me as Commander Seven, which Shaw would know, given that they're both bridge officers.
Yeah. Well, because Shaw would know is out of respect, because obviously Shaw does not call her Seven because he hates the Borg. So she has forced her to be called Commander Hansen. And she alludes to that when Jean-Luc and Will first get to the Titan, and they call her Commander Hansen. I'm like, wait, what? It's like, yeah, it was like, Shaw prefers I go by. It's like, all right. Because he's very by the book and slightly a jerk. But then again, we know why.
Shaw, where are we with that second to sell?
Open for business.
Second to cell is open.
Hold on. Multiple obstructions dead ahead.
Asteroid field.
My contact sensors are down.
Jack, call out their positions.
Contact. 7,000 kilometers. Bearing 224, Mark 5.
Help. Aft thrusters 15 degrees down.
Aft thrusters.
Shut it off on my mark.
Aye, sir.
And now.
Contact. 3,000 kilometers. Bearing 114, Mark 5.
Starboard thrusters up 45 degrees.
Aye, sir.
Hold on. 4 more seconds. Trust me.
It's almost there.
Shut it off.
I like how he listens.
Yeah.
I do like how out of respect he listens. Because his kid's not stupid.
I think it was more of a gut instinct than it was respect. He barely knows the kid.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but at the same time, though, I mean, he does realize the kid's not stupid. He's survived this long in a very dangerous occupation that him and his mother have engaged in for the last 20 fucking years.
Sure.
So that's how I took it. But obviously, everybody's going to read it a different way, and that's why we fucking do these panels.
Thrusters up to 98%, sir. But there's nothing left to transfer.
Yes, there is.
Helm. Transfer all power from life support.
Bold move, sir.
Yes. You're out of the asteroid field, but you still got to ride the wave.
Life support offline. Aye, sir.
Warning, life support is offline. Warning, life support is offline. Warning, life support is offline.
I did have a slight issue with that because I don't think the whole entire crew would be notified of that. It would be a bridge thing because they're not going to want to fucking promote panic throughout the whole entire ship.
And couldn't they have just maintained life support on the bridge in key areas?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, keeping life support on the bridge alone can't be a lot of energy.
You wouldn't think so, but I guess in the situation, my biggest issue is that they called it out. Literally, the warning went out through the whole entire ship. So you see crew members like, "Oh God, the life support's off." I mean, what all that's going to do is send a whole entire crew, lesser members of the crew into a fucking panic.
I get that, and it does seem also like a bit of a waste of power for those klaxons to go off. But
yeah,
that said, life support's already limping by on minimal power anyway. So,
and they've already demonstrated in TNG that the captain can, when there's one time he set to self-destruct and he put it on silent mode, so that there would be no audible countdown.
Yeah, and
they could probably do the same thing for this.
Yeah,
Right.
and there shouldn't be a notification for everybody. It should be a bridge thing only because they're the one that initiated it per
Well, they
captain's
did.
orders.
Yeah, they did that same thing in Search for Spock too, when the Klingons took over the Enterprise.
Yeah.
You know, they turned off all the proximity alarms and all the announcements and all that stuff, so that the Klingons wouldn't know that they were all about to die.
I just, in my opinion, I think it was an oversight that would have made the moment more powerful, because it would have been like nobody is the wiser. It would have been meant more if everybody on the bridge knew, but everybody was still kind of like, they could have almost like muffled everybody's voices and kind of shown everybody still carrying on a little bit as if they have no idea. And it's like, wow, these people might die and they have no idea at all.
I agree to a point. This is probably a bit of a more of a holdover from Kurtzman Trek, yeah.
So yeah, I think that was probably a shitty writer from a holdover. As you said, they're still morons, no matter who's at the helm. You know, it's like we talk about with Star Wars. You can get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. You still have fucking Pablo Hidalgo, who's a fucking asshole and a giant raging piece of garbage. You have you still have fucking Dave Filoni. So it's like, yeah, getting rid of the head doesn't necessarily mean that the snake's gonna die.
Yeah.
More like a Hydra.
Yeah. Just turn it into a fucking 3-headed monster.
Hail Hydra.
Hail Hydra.
Well, Beverly, it's all on you now.
5,
Counting down to climax.
2, 1. The detonation should be taking place now.
Boom. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, that's a shot up the ass.
My notes at this point become a mess.
Do they?
Yeah, this whole sequence is just fucking like a lot of shit's happening all at once. So
yeah,
We're in the waypoint. It's charging us. System's coming back online.
Forge, cut it. Stay inside.
fucking love this music. I think it works.
I know it does.
Pulse engines to match the cell's entropy.
Surfing that wave, bitches.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of flash back and forth just so we can kind of see it.
Coming back online
Riding
in 90
that O.
seconds.
Yeah.
The nebula. It's changing.
Uh-oh. Da-da-da.
Contact the Shrike. Mark 019, dead ahead.
Very tense.
You are.
Is our tractor beam operational?
Aye, sir.
We'll lock onto those coordinates.
Yeah, you did.
She's fast enough, hunt well enough.
Hold.
Open the jaw wide enough, and eventually the prey runs right into the mouth of the beast.
Fire keel thrusters. Cut the beam.
Yeah.
I love
Slam that
Stay
bitch.
alive.
I don't know about you guys, but I need a cigarette.
Oh,
I'm sleepy all of a sudden.
oh, I know, right? They always complain that we fall asleep after. Well, you know what? That's biological, bitch. Get used to it. That's like, we can't help it. Oh no, I love that though. Like where Will's like, he's like, is our tractor beam operational? Yes, sir. It's like just fuck. And then they literally say, did you just throw an asteroid at it?
Yeah.
Oh, and the awesome part, we got to see most of that. We're still up. No stream down.
Yep.
Will, did you just throw an asteroid?
Goddamn right I did.
Okay, so the aliens are saying we're hemorrhaging power. The core is critical condition. We're close to meltdown.
Because their engineers probably like, yeah, because we just got hit in the face with a fucking asteroid.
Yeah, you literally threw a planetoid at us. Like,
Vadic is understandably upset.
The nebula is breaking up. I think we should be able to warp soon.
I'm gonna just say it. Space babies.
Yep, space babies.
There's that cue again.
They've been kind of looked like the alien from the Farpoint episode.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I think that's probably what the callback is to. Yeah.
Yeah. I figured this was a huge callback. It was cool though to see the little space babies. I was cool with that.
So much happens between when they get started with that pulse to right now. Like there's so much shit that happens in that one little section of the show.
Thanks,
Like I said,
baby.
my notes are a bit of a mess. So it goes from life support transfer to thrusters, and then all of a sudden I'm writing in all caps with like exclamation points like Titan surfs pulse wave, Shrike, very tense.
You're like, right faster.
Titan throws asteroid at Shrike. Space babies.
You also notice that as soon as the power hit the engines, all the systems lit back up. So the like life support came back.
Yep.
Because they were flushed.
The
They were
lights
flushed with
came
power.
up?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The lights came up to where they should have been the whole show.
Yeah. So so I just like I wrote a bunch of shit down in caps with exclamation points and ended it with space babies and to seek new life.
Yeah.
Because it was intense. It was a well done scene. There was a lot of information packed into just a few seconds.
Yes, and it was. I think it was very well done, and a lot happens at once. We still technically have like another 4 minutes left, but they're just kind of everybody's in awe of the space babies because they are kind of cute, little jellyfish kind of things.
Yeah, they'll be cute right up until they invade your universe and devour you with madness.
Picard season 4.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Picard season 4, actual Cthulhu.
Yeah, well, I mean, ironically, there was a Picard season 4. Kurtzman would probably come back and fuck it up because he'd be like, "Oh wait, people like it? Like what happened?" It's like you left, dude. That's what happened.
Here, Hanson LaForge.
Hi, Captain.
Let's boldly get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Make your wee hard a little bit.
Oh man, I've been riding that wave since they started doing it.
Your crew become a part of you, complete you. They lift you up to accomplish the things you never could do alone.
It's what we mentioned at the top of the show about just wrapping back around.
Yes, this is the huge payoff, and it all comes to fruition. I really like this touch to end this on this note.
Excuse me, Admiral. You went on and on about your crew, your life in Starfleet. Did you have a life outside of that? About a real family?
Young man, Starfleet has been the only family I have ever needed.
Question I gotta ask was that because they cut away from the current scene and then the past.
I think that was Picard realizing that because Jack never tells him why he never chose to meet him.
Yep.
Right. So even though he's asked directly, he never tells him that. He goes on about another story about an Andorian with a broken antenna. So here is Picard thinking back to that day and realizing that the young man who asked him about a family was Jack. It was Jack seeking him out to know him. And when he said that about Starfleet being the only family he's ever needed, it gave Jack the excuse to not approach him further.
Yep. It gave him the excuse.
Audio,
yeah.
My internet cut out for a second, so I didn't know if you guys heard my question, but I was asking exactly that. If you thought Picard realized that was Jack asking that question.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that was him realizing that that Jack actually did come to seek him out, but because obviously Jean-Luc had no idea he had a son, so why would he have any further need for anything else? Had he actually known? I mean, it's that juxtaposition.
That's what he said to Beverly, in the previous episode, that like, if he had known, he might have made different choices.
But she never told him. you know, and you know, I mean, she rightfully gets an earful from Jean-Luc because she never told him.
Right, but at a certain point, it's also, you know, on Jack because, you know, Jack was told where to find him at, you know, when he was old enough.
Yep. And
this is the interchange that happened there, and he never went back. He never tried to know him after that because he figured that this guy doesn't give a shit about real blood.
Yeah,
which if you know Picard's like history with his own brother, kind of tracks a little bit, but you know, aside from that bullshit thing that happened with the fire that where his whole family was killed off screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah.
And Jack disappears.
You can't hide from the pain by being alone. I know I thought being away was going to be the answer to all of our problems. But after what we've just been through,
I'm just glad that everyone's okay. That you're okay.
Troy's second appearance.
Different now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite have the words yet, but we witnessed a kind of birth here, and it reminded me that there's a whole universe out there. And it can be beautiful.
There is kind of a rebirth here as well because Riker's character is far more robust and willing to take risks from this point forward.
Mm-hmm. He did a bit of healing, which is you know, sometimes it takes an old friend just pushing you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's been such a recluse. He's ran away from everything that you know, he couldn't run away from this situation, you know, even though he wanted to. He just wanted to kind of put his head in a hole and kind of just let everybody wait it out. And I
think he found that confidence young Riker had.
Yes. With a sense of wisdom, because obviously, you know,
Right.
Riker when he was younger, he was a little full of himself, but he was still a much lovable character. And he wasn't afraid to admit when he did wrong, because, you know, obviously more than once he kind of screwed up, you know, when I remember the episode when he got framed for murder, you know, that whole entire thing, you know, but anyway, that was a good episode too.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't said anything as lovely as that in a very long time.
I know. That's on me. And I'm sorry. I'm going to fix it. With you.
Are you and Jean-Luc in trouble?
I don't know yet.
Admiral's log, stardate 7818.
Yeah!
We have managed to escape death at the hands of our unknown enemy.
I like this
Although we're
touch too.
free temporarily from the terror of the Shrike.
Closing it out with a log and
Him reading the Admiral's log.
Yep, shipping the
What
warp.
exactly does she want with my son?
Seems like the end of a TNG episode.
I know, that's what I was like, yeah. Uh-oh.
But you gotta have the stinger.
Jack. Mental breakdown.
Behind the red door.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little bit of like Event Horizon vibes from that last.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Find me. All right. That was episode number 4.
3 hours later.
3 hours later. Yeah,
That was good.
That took a whole 3 hours to do.
You know, I'm good with it. I think we covered quite a bit about it, and this, like I told you guys before, I think this is probably my favorite episode of the season. There are others that are pretty damn good too. Overall, I like the season overall, but this, I mean, just for Shaw's performance alone, and Todd Stashwick alone in this one, I think is worth it. Although he's great throughout, but he fucking delivers here.
And this episode is good in that it concludes an arc, because the first 4 episodes are an arc in and of itself, and it's a pretty good conclusion to the arc, because you get some slow episodes coming up soon that weren't really my favorite, but I think this was a good conclusion to the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, and no Raffi.
Yes. No.
That's always a plus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just don't care about her character. I'll stand by that. I said it 2 weeks ago, and I still believe it now. I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah. We're all like, yeah.
Well, God bless the 2 of you who had to watch those first 2 fucking seasons.
That's all. I'm sorry you went through that, Alf. I only watched the first season, and then the second season, I got into like the first episode of that. I was like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
I watched the first seson.
Were there tears?
I was pissed off with it, and then the second season I only watched because I kind of watched alongside Nerdrotic when he was watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see how, out of morbid curiosity, how bad it was going to be.
Were there tears in any of Picard?
I think there were, a few
Yeah.
times. I tried to block most of that out of my memory, but
yeah,
it was just bad because they demasculated Picard, and he was going around apologizing to everyone. And then you had Raffi being an irrational, emotional mess, and then 7 and 9 was like the kick-ass woman running around like two pistols in each hand, shooting bad guys. Like, woo! It was. I mean, she was attractive to look at, but it was.
Oh yeah,
it was
she's got
bad.
Great ass, great tits, but
she was out of character for 7 of 9.
Yeah.
I think she even might have said something about that at some point. You know, like she didn't really care much for where they were going with it. I don't know that she would have put it in those words because she obviously still has a job. But
And the first 2 seasons, maybe the first season especially, was more of a vanity project for Patrick Stewart, because he said he didn't want to bring in the whole cast and do this kind of thing, and it ended up being a failure, and they ended up bringing him in anyways.
Right. You know what? One of the biggest issues that I have with the first season of Picard is that it takes that Kelvin timeline bullshit with the destruction of Romulus and makes it canon.
Yeah, but they make it canon in Star Trek Online as well.
They did.
But the way they went about it, I actually liked how they did it in the game, where they basically said the Romulan Empire split up into 2 entities.
Sure. What happens after, I have less of an issue with, in terms of like the diaspora of the Romulan people, is like you got the Tal Shiar on one side, the new Romulan Republic on the other. What I don't understand is why, because it was what the Hoban system, something like that.
Hobus system.
Hoba, yeah. They their star went nova, right, and somehow destroyed Romulus, which is in another system several sectors away.
That's JJ Trek writing right for you.
Yeah, but it didn't manage to wipe out all of the other star systems around it in its immediate vicinity, but it killed fucking the planet Romulus.
In the game, they do a okay job of explaining that was actually a super weapon, not just a nova.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you play the game, you'll get to that story point, and they'll explain that it wasn't just a supernova; it was actually triggered by some larger entity.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played. Actually, I think I've only been through that part with the Federation side, so I should really get my Romulan character and get that moving.
Star Trek Online is it online only? I'm online only.
What's an MMO?
Is it PC only? I think we've had this.
No, but
we've had this.
No, but they're not. It's not cross-platform. It's on PC in both of the main consoles, but it's not cross-platform.
So Alf plays Xbox.
I play Xbox.
Yeah, I'm running on PS4. I don't have a PC that can run shit.
Okay.
Neither do I.
Oh, Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I got a PS4. That's the one that we can't all play together. It's Warships that's cross-platform.
Yeah, you started it a while back. You gotta.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could play this afternoon if you got time.
I got I have an evening stream with a friend. He wanted us to do something for Memorial Day. It's gonna start about 9 o'clock and probably run an hour. I can probably do something after that.
Yeah, that works.
So I don't know what 10
You're on Eastern time zone.
Yeah, so it'd be like 10:15 is 10:30.
10:15. It's about 9:15 for me. Yeah,
Okay.
work.
Yeah, and I still think I have like 1 or 2 more missions to get through to unlock it.
Yeah, they make you go through like 5 or 6 missions before they unlock the multiplayer portion of it. It's because it's kind of like they use like the first 5 or 6 missions as like the tutorial on how to play.
So, but I will say, if you do want to play the Star Trek Online, you can play with me.
Okay, yeah, unfortunately, since we can't all play together, I'll probably play with you on PS4, and then hopefully maybe Samuel, you'll get into Warships. It is fun. And actually, I was surprised. It is. A lot of fun.
I might do that. I actually I only got sucked back into STO because Alf brought it up again. I blame you, dude. But because I'd been off MMOs for probably 4 years. I haven't played any in a long time.
And Star Trek Online is not one of those like really grindy MMOs.
No, not
there's
particularly.
some stuff you can grind, but it's not necessary to play the game.
Yeah, the end game stuff can get kind of grindy with the reputation system and all that, but it's not something you got to worry about right away or anything. But I've also got a backlog of other shit that I'm still doing too. So we'll see about the Warships thing. I got to get back into my Monster Hunter streams because I have not been doing those.
Yeah, I wanted to play Atomic Heart today, but I took that allergy pill and I was fucking out, and I ended up waking up. It like my alarm went off at 2 p.m. I made sure I set it, and I was like, oh fuck, I haven't even watched the episode yet, so I fucking speed watched it at like 1.5 times.
I did that 2 weeks ago.
So
like right before we started.
Yeah, I literally finished the episode like I think it was like 13 minutes before we were supposed to go live, and I think we were like 4 minutes late. So it's like, but yeah,
and they're pretty long episodes too. It's not like Mandalorian where you get like a 21-minute episode or something.
Yeah, no, this one was a solid. Obviously, opening credits to end credits fit like 57 minutes. That's a fucking haul. We're talking like Game of Thrones level. Well, gentlemen, I guess we go around the horn. We're over 3 hours. Mr. Horny Alf, who's so horny. Me so horny.
Woo!
Yeah, you can catch me on Twitter, dropping memes and commentary. I was kind of light on all that this week because I was on vacation in Florida, but I'm gonna get right back to it. Yeah, I also have a Twitch channel that I stream games on. I gotta get back to. I was like. So close to getting affiliate status. I was gonna play Subnautica tonight, which is a pretty good survival game, and then maybe New Vegas tomorrow during the day.
I need to catch up on your New Vegas streams. I want to watch you play it because I love me some New Vegas.
Have you ever played Subnautica?
I have not. No.
It's a sci-fi game where you crash land on a water planet and you have to survive, and you have only the technology in the space pod that you land in.
Okay.
And you have to swim around the planet, and you actually end up going down like thousands of feet once you get the technology to do it. It's actually pretty crazy, and then the monsters you run into.
All
right, I'll take a look.
You should do me a favor though, while you're playing New Vegas. Side with anybody but Caesar's Legion just to piss Shadow off.
Oh, he's a Caesar's Legion guy?
Oh, of course he is.
God, of course he is.
I never finished it. That's why I'm
replaying it. Shoot to Kaisar.
So I'm doing the streaming because I never finished the game years ago, and I'm getting back into it. So I was gonna shoot for the NCR, especially because I like that. That one companion you get that has the brain. He's a sniper.
Boone! I love Boone.
Yes.
Dude
Boone
is
one of the best companions in that fucking game.
Oh my god, he's a fucking monster. I love Boone. I side with the NCR because the NCR obviously is going to be considered canonical. If they ever you were to cement it in stone, obviously the game is meant for you to. But yeah,
I've played through all the endings, so I don't have a preference. I just think that you should, if you're going to be streaming it, don't side with Caesar's Legion because Shadow will hate that.
Oh, I don't ever side with Caesar's Legion. Eventually, I want to start with the first Fallout and stream them all.
The first two are kind of rough because they're the above head.
They're
isometric view.
Yeah, turn based. It's
I would start on Fallout 3 and go from there.
Well, I thought about maybe just doing short videos, like one of my favorite streamers did. He did like short 30-minute videos of 1 and 2, and like Brotherhood of Steel.
Yeah, well, Brotherhood of Steel is a different category of game, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think they consider that canon either.
No, they do not.
Part of Brotherhood of Steel is considered canonical because they do
Harold's in it.
Well, yeah, Harold's in it. They also confirmed the fact that Brotherhood airships did go down on their way to Boston in Fallout 4. So parts are canonical, but parts are not. So it's still just it is a fun game. It's a little more Fallout 2-ish. It's got a little bit of comedy humor to it, ironic humor.
Yeah, there's some great fucking movie references in it too.
Yeah, I don't think I have thought about this though. I don't think I'll stream them because it is isometric and it is turn based and all that stuff and it's overhead. I'll probably do videos, but
my New Vegas streams were actually doing pretty well. I think they were getting my biggest numbers. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get back into that this week. And I actually lost a couple followers on my Twitch over the week I was gone. I guess that just happens when you don't stream.
Probably. Well, I'm sure. I'm sure that Twitch has kind of a purge system like YouTube.
Probably,
if there are users that are inactive for so long, they just delete their account, so you lose a subscriber.
I got enough followers that didn't push me below the minimum for affiliate, so I'm still good. But
okay,
but yeah,
that's good to hear.
All my live streams I do on Twitch, I go and upload them to my YouTube page, so you can also catch them there and replay if you didn't catch it. Because as you know, I'm not an affiliate yet, so my videos only stay up for I think it's 7 days.
Yeah, that drives me nuts about Twitch.
You're pretty close to affiliate, all right?
Which is why I re-upload all of them to YouTube. And someday, if I can ever get a computer that's not a potato and a capture card, then I'll play directly to YouTube. But
yeah.
So, but that's where you find me.
Outstanding, nice. Mr. Samiel the Infamous.
Well, we're simulcasting this to both Legion Talk and the channel Samiel the Infamous, for which I am infamously named. Yeah, come find me there. We'll be back next week for more shenanigans.
Yes, and obviously Abyssal Musings. I'm gonna cross my fingers going forward. I'm hoping we were able to do a Game of Thrones stream tomorrow night. Obviously, I am nowhere near out of the woods with my situation, so it's an ever-changing beast. But I'm gonna cross my fingers that we get to do Game of Thrones tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I still have to figure out what fucking episodes we're on. We're gonna be reviewing 2, God willing. And then hopefully we're back for Friday Night's Royal Rumble. And then, of course, again here for Picard Season 3, Episode number 5. Same time. So, yeah, going to cross my fingers. And I think pretty much, Samuel, you and I are on like all the same streams together. So
if you haven't, go watch yesterday's Screaming Into the Void on my channel. It was the 50th episode. Big episode. Lots of people. A little chaotic. A lot of fun.
Hey, I got a question. After Picard's done, if we start reviewing TOS or TNG, you want me to see if there's anyone from the Legion of Memers that wouldn't mind jumping in on those?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm good with that.
Get a little bit bigger panel.
Yeah, you caught all that earlier while you were cleaning, right? Because I think we Brian and I were talking about maybe starting from TOS and then going all the way through to Enterprise, maybe.
I would love to do that. Start it with the original and then work our way through, especially since I haven't seen the majority of Deep Space Nine.
And another thing you can do is if we've got anyone that is interested in watching it and has never seen it, you get them to watch it before our video and call it a reaction.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because reaction videos get great pull.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
And then what else? But yeah, we could put it that way. And I think the TOS and TNG will get a good pull of an audience there because they have a bigger
we could
audience.
call it like Star Trek Sunday.
Yeah,
like that.
I think that would be. I think that'd be a great idea, and it's going to give us like drastic amounts of content. People are hungry for good content and not bad, and it's also kind of a way to cleanse the palate because wow, I'll just say wow, the amount of trash coming up is a lot. We still have
especially with the writer's strike, we're going to quickly run out of anything to watch.
Because we got what Indiana Jones 5 coming up, woohoo. We got Ahsoka coming up. I think that's like what in end of July, August or something. And then
I forgot that was still happening.
Yeah, we have the Marvels coming up, which is going to be a piece of fucking crap.
After that third season of Mandalorian, I'm
yeah, I don't blame you.
I had no hope. I mean, I really didn't have any hope after Last Jedi, but
you feel like Riker at the beginning of this episode.
I was kind of still in on the Mandalorian, but then when I watched the third season, I'm like, the writing had a significant shift between the second and third season.
Oh, absolutely, it did. There's a drastic shift in the writing, and I think we all know where that comes from. I believe that Jon Favreau is leaving. I think he's like, I'm out. I tried to help, but Kathleen Kennedy is too much of
I don't think Jon Favreau and Filoni are as friendly as we think they are.
No, I don't think they are either. I don't either.
And Filoni is ready to suck Kathleen Kennedy's dick to stay with Star Wars.
Yeah, he's nothing but a yes man. I think he's literally her.
I think Filoni, where the real rift came, is when they fired Gina Carano, and it messed up Filoni's long-term plans.
You mean Favreau?
Because he had a whole, Favreau. Favreau had a whole show revolved around her.
Yep.
So, and that's why you saw a significant shift, because the Book of Boba Fett was awful, and it looked like it was poorly put together, and then Kenobi was terrible. So I don't know. I think Favreau has just been phoning it in until he can, I guess, till the end of his contract.
Yeah, I think his contract is up soon because he's had very minimal appearances and very minimal of anybody really talking about him. I think he's just done. I think he wants out.
You saw how visible he was for the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, right?
Yep.
He was doing documentaries. He was on red carpets. Ever since then, you haven't seen him.
Nope. He has been very, very absent, and I think he gave it the old college try, and I think unfortunately the state of colleges nowadays are just nothing but garbage, and I think he has the wrong opinions and he has the wrong ideas, and they just I think the Mandalorian was fucking hijacked, and I think season 3 proves that.
Yeah.
So. But all right, gentlemen, damn good show. Feel free. I know Samuel's gonna stick around for the outro, but Alf, if you got to bounce, feel free to do so. And then
I think I'm gonna bounce. I got some stuff I got to take care of.
No worries. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you, buddy. So, and thank you to everybody in the chat, and we will see you again real soon. See you guys.
Later.
Engage.
Back when I was in the academy, we would follow every toast with a song.
Shili Skala Incredibly unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic. No one had a chance to interrupt. It was quite hypnotic. Incredibly unbroken sentence, moving from topic to topic. No one had a chance to interrupt. It was quite hypnotic.
That's an interesting twist.